Well, that was fun. So, apparently, uh, we blew a breaker right as I was supposed to be going live. Isn't that great? Oh, goodness. Let's see here. Bring this on. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Are you both using the same mic tonight?
We will be. Husband is outdoors at the moment. He will be right back in.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, how you doing, wife?
I'm great, Fern. How you doing?
Well, I had a power outage just the moment I was supposed to be going live, so that was
That's
fun.
what I. That's what I heard. I'm so sorry
Yeah.
that happened.
Well, life goes on. What do you do? So, of course,
I
something like
mean,
that
it
had to
do,
occur.
but that don't mean it doesn't suck. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
what do
I'm
you
so
do?
sorry.
Yeah, no big deal.
Just because it
Anyway,
could be worse doesn't mean that it's not bad.
right. I
It's
I was like, go
kind of like
ahead.
trying to tell me that a paper cut doesn't hurt just because I don't have cancer. Like, it's not a
Yeah,
contest of suckage.
right. Yeah, it's like those people who are telling, oh, it could be worse. I'm like, right. Well, at least you didn't have blah happen. And I'm like, well, yeah, but just because I didn't get shot doesn't mean I like being stabbed. I'm not like, well, at least I wasn't shot. No, I'm like, fuck, I was stabbed. Like
Exactly.
that's not how that
That's
works.
what I was
Oh,
trying to convey with my sympathies.
thank you. I appreciate that. It is ironically, I had this whole idea about like, oh man, I should try to do some professional sounding shit. Uh,
With
that's
us?
well, you know. Well, I don't know. I was gonna do this whole thing, right? As soon as it hit 7 o'clock exactly, I would be like, "Hey, everybody, this is gonna be Talk to Your Plants Resurrection." In case anybody doesn't realize, the new name of the show is Talk to Your Plants Resurrection because the original one died. And I was gonna be like, this is Fern, and this is my co-host Chloe, who is not present.
Oh no.
and and I was gonna do a little chit chatty do and then say, and these are our guests, husband and wife of Sacrilegious Discourse. It was gonna be real pro. So
It was
everybody
going to
out
be
there
real pro.
who eventually hears this, please pretend that I did that I was very professional.
That's what me and husband say every single night.
Let's just fake it. We'll just fake it. It's fine.
Make it
Nothing wrong
happen.
with that.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not. So what are you
Tremendous.
up to besides trying to make sure your breaker doesn't pop?
Fuck. Let's see. At the moment, I've been drinking some alcohol to deaden the pain.
Okay.
And
Okay.
this time, not the pain of life this time. This time it's that I actually did injure myself. So like, yeah, my
I'm
arm
not
is,
laughing at you. I'm
yeah,
laughing with
no,
you.
I understand. No, right. Except I'm not laughing. So no,
I'm
I'm kidding.
laughing with your heart.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because of you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so
Right.
glad we
That's
cleared that up.
makes it better. I don't know where Chloe is. I'm trying to hassle Chloe in my DMs here. Um, anyway, and you don't know where husband is, so apparently we're neither of us are any good at starting on time. This is fine.
Husband, get over here. He's getting coffee. You know the way it goes. We're always about 10, 20, 30 minutes late.
Yeah, of course. Actually,
But
so
I
I guess
mean,
this is kind of the appropriate introduction. This is more like what it's like when we hang out on Discord, so why not?
exactly. Exactly. Laid back is the way it should be, if I'm being honest. Like,
That'll
we're
be the
all kids
new
here
title of the episode, Laid Back, with my
with my
mind on
mind on my
religion and religion on
money.
my mind.
Exactly.
Just,
I can't hear the words laid back without going that way.
exactly. Yeah, I know. We both have that. A lot of people, I guess, tend to have that
Probably.
tendency.
Yeah.
Pull up
Yeah.
music in their brains when they hear a lyric.
It's true.
I'm here.
Say
Are you,
hi,
well,
husband.
hello, husband. Oh, look who has arrived.
Is
All
Oh.
Chloe
right,
here
add.
too?
Hi, wife.
Hello.
Hi, Chloe.
Hi. Hey, husband.
Look, they came in together. I have suspicions. Where
Aha!
were you two?
You notice we never see them at the same time. Wait, no, that doesn't. That's a different conspiracy. Never mind that.
See, you went with they were one person and the same. I was like they were both gone at the same time because
Suspicious.
they were together.
Aha! Caught now. Caught doing I don't know what exactly because you're in different states, but still.
Yeah, that's what made it funny in my mind.
So, okay, so official starting point. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Talk to Your Plants Resurrection. I am your host, Fern Lovebond. Over there is my co-host, Chloe Plant, who, of course, naturally is completely off screen when I say that.
No, sorry. Hello.
And-
Oh, wow.
that's spooky. I like it.
That was a bit spooky, yeah.
And of course, we are joined by the wonderful, wonderful couple, husband and wife. Those are proper names. Capitalize the H and W in that.
That is right.
Howdy.
Sacrilegious Discourse fame. The much bigger media presence than our own, who have deigned to grant us permission to speak with them, have a conversation, and record it for posterity. Not posteriors.
God, you make it sound like I need to watch my mouth now.
Yeah, watch what the fuck you're saying.
Like,
No, so you guys, I found you, last year or somewhere. I don't know. Maybe it was earlier this year. I don't fucking know. I'm bad with time. I found you a while back when you made yourself a Discord, and that's where I hang out. So ever since then, yeah, that's what I agree. Yeah, until.
Yes,
Although
yes.
if we had a secure version of it, that would be even better.
Right.
But
I've got my my internet people on that.
Thank you.
In no way
Cool.
whatsoever.
I don't have those people right now, but when I do,
I like that you found us the way some people find Jesus.
Oh,
Through Discord.
explain that.
Like you found us. Found ya. He said, "I found you guys."
I'm not sure that's yeah. I don't. Yeah.
What? Isn't that?
Most people are indoctrinated.
Yeah, but then people come up to you and they're like, "Have you found Jesus?" And I'm like, "Where's he hiding?"
Okay.
On Discord.
I have to. Wife's brain works a different way than mine, so.
Wife's brain works different from most people. Oh no, where did Fern go?
Yeah, I can relate to that, wife.
there we go. All right. Hopefully, my problems will resolve. I'm having issues.
Oh,
Hey,
no.
is it bad form to like your own YouTube stuff?
I think so. I don't do
it's
it
like-
personally.
Yeah.
I've done it before, like on Facebook. I've liked my own post, but I always make like goddamn right, I like my own post because I'm fucking funny. So I think
Let's just fucking own it.
Own it. Yeah.
I like what I did there. And then if you don't like,
Have
I used to do
win
that
with
on.
confidence.
Oh shit.
Sorry, I'm
What?
still getting used to like having a microphone that's separate and like attached to my
Oh,
cord.
Chloe, I'm gonna mute you if you don't get your shit together. So we're just gonna put the little anti-mic on you, and then once you're done fumbling around,
Just give us a thumbs
come
up.
on. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
It's so funny
Wow.
watching it. It's like she looks like she's like in an airplane and she's like doing all the flips everywhere. You know, the switches.
Oh my goodness, that is so accurate.
oh, we love you, Chloe.
I
Fucking
know.
pilot is out of control. Who's landing the plane?
Chloe is
No,
what?
I love it.
Holy shit! I have never been one to be like uptight about professionalism, but this is crazy.
I'm loving it.
So-
What the fuck's professionalism?
it's a very good question,
I
husband.
just feel so at home.
So look, I don't know what you guys, if you want to do professional shit or not. So like, is there some sort of introducing yourselves thing you have figured out? You want to do that?
Yeah, sure.
I
Cool.
can do that
Let's
if
hear
you
it.
like.
Yeah. Do you want to start or you want me to start?
No, you do it.
Oh, I'm gonna
You
start.
do it.
I'll add when I know what
Okay.
which direction you're going.
So I obviously am husband. And,
Obviously.
Well, I mean, not obviously. I am husband though.
You are though.
And my co-host here, that's wife.
I'm wife.
And she is my wife.
I am.
Yeah. And obviously, well, if you look at our screen here, we are Sacrilegious Discourse, and we run a podcast that where we read the Bible, and it is us reading the Bible for the first time.
The very
Our first time, I should say.
Mhm, mhm.
And we've been doing this now for about 4 years, approximately. Maybe actually a
Four
little
and
bit
a
over
half
that. Yeah.
now. Yeah.
And so we are, we're on a live YouTube.
Live, yeah.
Okay, okay. No, it's
No,
kid.
Not, not fucking safe for work. I love that.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Sorry, kid. Yeah.
Hi, kid.
So anyway, we are in our 4th year of reading the Bible on our podcast, and basically we just read it and then we go back and study what we didn't know. So we read it and we react to it as we go along in a very natural manner to us, and then just kind of go from there with how we study what we didn't know, what we thought we wanted to know more about, and go down rabbit holes with regard to what we discover as we go along. Wife, you want to fill in some more here for me?
I totally wasn't listening just then.
How about you just introduce yourself?
I'm Wife, and I never know what the fuck I'm doing. I apologize.
So welcome to the club.
Well, you were introducing for a really long time in my mind.
Read Wife Got Bored.
Well, yeah, basically. No, you had it. You were handling it. And I have nothing to add. I trust everything that you said implicitly. Yeah, so we're atheists reading the Bible for the first time and reacting to each chapter. We've been doing it about 4.5 years. Am I summing it up what you just said?
Yeah, I said those things.
Yeah.
I'll throw this in here. Sacrilegiousdiscourse.com. You can find all of our social media, all of our places that we are over there. So
husband wears all the hats and does all the work, and I just show up and read out loud and do a little research, and it shows.
There you go. That's who we are.
Wow. So I unmute Chloe, and immediately I'm hearing wailing.
Okay, okay. Don't be snooty. We put Emmett in his cage and behind a door. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know what? This is just chill.
Fun.
Okay.
No,
and so
fine.
chill means we're in our apartment and we have 5 cats and a dog.
Okay, that's cool. I was gonna say, so don't be too surprised if later on you maybe hear like police sirens, because I'm in downtown Buffalo. So
well, we're
that's
in
just
downtown
how that works.
Dayton, and that is how it works here sometimes too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Am I the only one having like audio weirdness? Like I'm hearing you guys are like super loud, then not quite so loud. Am I the only one hearing that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I've been hearing the sound levels of husband and wife just kind of go in and out.
Oh,
really?
okay. Yeah.
For me,
it's weird. A little. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a StreamYard thing. I don't know.
Is it maybe because I'm loud and he's quiet?
No, like you'll be in the middle of talking, your
I don't know
levels
what
will
we'll be
suddenly
talking.
jump. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
That dog.
Okay.
So I was actually about to talk about our dog, because the reason why he's crying is because he's in his cage. Now, he was being a little vocal earlier, but like if he comes out of his cage, he won't be, crying as a river. He may occasionally, but you may hear us being just natural in our apartment, talking to our beloved dog, who is huge and a budding Great Pyrenees. But I mean, it's just, can we just all be natural? And I have a dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to tell Fern, just be laid back.
Huh?
No. Nah. Just nah. Not gonna do it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
look, yeah. Hold on. Let me go back to my thing. I actually had some questions for you guys, husband and wife, because I don't know. I listened to you during the lives. What did I do now? What are you doing? What happened?
No, we're not.
You were cutting in. You were cutting in and out.
Yeah.
Oh, was I?
Cutting
Oh,
in and
now
out.
we're all doing it. Okay.
Well, I'm going to go in and out to just get Emmett and then put him here attached to the table like before.
Gotcha.
Fern, you keep talking.
Okay. I do that a lot.
I relate.
So, all right. So you guys have you've been doing this whole Bible reading thing, and I, like most people, I think I found you midway through your introductions to the Bible. Like you're still in the Old Testament now, so of course I found you during that. I went back and started listening to some of the earlier episodes, and then I just sort of skipped around here and there. But I noticed a definite tone shift in the way you guys approach the text. Whereas early on, you were pretty like, oh, this is kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about that. You were kind of fair, and well, I wouldn't even use the word fair. You were just you were
Open.
strongly open, yeah, in the early episodes, more gentle, and the current ones are like very judgmental, and which I approve of. You're very judgmental of like the God and the characters, and I just wonder if that's something that you have noted, which I'm fine with, because it feels very outsider, right? It feels like you guys are really approaching it as just people reading it for what it is, and I think that's exactly what's most attractive about it. But do you have anything you want to say about that shift, that you've noticed it, or do you consider it when you're doing any of your work?
I did not particularly notice it, or wasn't particularly aware of it, beyond recognition that the more that we read and the further that we get, the more comfortable we are with the stories and what to expect and what's gone on before to lead to where we're at, that it no longer feels like it's just a story or whatever. It's very it's hard to keep being open to something that is so yucky.
I would like to say, so I think that, when we first started reading the Bible, it was, to us, it was the generic, our idea of what the Bible was a very generic idea. And so, what does a person who's never read the Bible or really been involved in religion know about the Bible? They know Jesus saves people, and
Noah's Ark children's story.
Noah, survived the ark with some things, and generalizations like that, right?
It's really easy to be kind of innocent and naive, and to go in with an open mind when you don't know what you're actually stepping in.
And we actually catch a lot of flack for this from people who are Christian, and because we've been reading the Bible straight through from Genesis, on. So far, we've only read the Old Testament. And the Old Testament God is a fucking dick, and he proves it over and over and over and over again.
Right? Yeah,
and
like earliest of episodes, that was in the promotions. Some of the earliest promotions was God's a dick. Like that came up really fast.
It's one thing to notice it early on. It's another thing to have it happen year after year after year of reading the Bible, and at some point you kind of become numb to how much destruction and death surrounds this idea of what the Old Testament God is.
And somebody had asked me similarly, like, you used to cry, wife, when you would read scenes that covered deaths of children and rapes of women, and now you just kind of toss it off like nothing. And
like it's par for the course, just what we've expected.
Yeah, and it's not that it bothers me any less. I just don't know what to do with it or where to put it. And it's nothing that we planned. I mean, it's nothing that we even talked about so much, like changing the way we do things, or it's all just natural. Like, we don't know what to expect with every single next book that comes up. We enter with high hopes, but less high hopes, I guess, probably than we started the entire book with.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
That makes sense. Hey, Chloe, I want to ask you a favor.
Okay.
Will you mute yourself on your end so I don't cut you off when you're trying to get my attention or something? Because I'm keeping you muted because of all the noise, because your mic's really good.
Oh.
So like, yeah, it's picking up everything. So I'm just asking if you'll mute yourself on your end so I'm not
picking up my inner thoughts.
Oh, some of them. I can tell that you hate me for interrupting just to ask you this.
No.
No, just if you're muting yourself, then that way I'm not like keeping you from saying something when you have something you want to add. Okay?
Okay.
That'd be all right?
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Okay. So, now, obviously, for husband, wife, you've developed a lot in your perspectives because of how you've been reading. I mean, I think it's really hard to read the Old Testament and not feel like, man, that God dude is he's harsh, man. But I think it's easier to like compartmentalize that if you were indoctrinated like I was. So I really love that you guys have like just a fresh outsider perspective. Again, I think that's really what's important about how you present, and whether you've gotten flack about it or not. But how do you
And I
think
think
that you're?
also that. Oh, sorry, if I can interject for just a
No,
second.
go ahead. Yeah.
I think that most people's exposure to the Old Testament is very limited, even if they have been indoctrinated, because what they hear about mostly in church is going to be very much based on New Testament and how Old Testament things relate to the New Testament. It's not that the Old Testament doesn't get covered, but the Old Testament very much sets up what is the New Testament.
Right.
And
It's more of a proof text.
Right.
And that's kind of we're not coming in with already foreknowledge of what's in the New Testament. So there is no setup for us. We don't know what the tie-ins are yet.
Yeah.
I like that.
If I may,
Yeah.
If it's a good moment, I think that's a really interesting point, husband. Because like I think about like how I grew up, and like even now, like, you know, from then and now, like there's aspects and certain stories of the Old Testament that I'm familiar with. There are whole books of the Old Testament that at 35 years old, I still haven't read. I've read my New Testament all the way through multiple times. There are the Psalms, Proverbs, and other places in the Old Testament I'm more familiar with. And like the way I was raised, like I was, you know, we had Sabbath school, which is our Adventist equivalent of Sunday school. And like, I grew up knowing stories from like just various programs made available to kids. And just like, there's always all kinds of formats for kids to take in Bible stories. And it's interesting and different now to be going through the Old Testament in the context of Sactus, and to listen to you guys experiencing this when you you weren't raised Christian, and you've never read the Bible before, and it's definitely been giving me a lot of food for thought about how we Christians teach and raise kids, and just how we all relate to the Bible. And like the greater emphasis was like, the stories of the New Testament and like the spiritual points of the New Testament. And I can't regurgitate it perfectly, but I know that there's a change between like the keeping certain like detailed aspects of what's in the Old Testament in terms of like God's law, and a shift into something that is a simpler lifestyle. I'm not the kind of scholar person who can like just give you that in detail, but because of that, I think that that's why like I'm one of the people who grew up and I wasn't super familiar with the parts of the Old Testament that are causing you to say right now God's a dick. But the thing is though is that like, but because I have like absorbed where you're coming from, and I'm listening to you go through this, and I'm hearing it as you're experiencing it when you share it in these raw podcasts, I get where you're coming from. And this whole journey has just been like, giving all kinds of food for thought about just all kinds of differences in perspectives and communication issues, like about
So now do you agree that God's a dick, or
No.
Okay.
No, I was just going to say, I appreciate that you can see why we would say that, though. Like, that is such a big admission coming from somebody who is a believer and is very comfortable in their belief. Like, that means a lot, honestly, that you can see why we would say that.
No, I agree. But I do want to say this also, and that's that I do feel part of my feeling towards Old Testament God versus the New Testament Jesus, right? Somewhat to me feels like a culture shift in the way that people were willing to accept the amount of loathing that their God had towards them, right? And that to me, like that, at some point, you've got to have a more accepting God, or people are just going to be like, fuck this guy, So, to me, like if you're just looking at this from a human perspective, right? Jesus sells so much better than Old Testament God. He's an easier sell. He lets you get away with more. I mean, like overall, he's an easier pitch.
Although currently our current climate is going back to self-hatred, but self-hatred that is being then put onto the other.
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
it's a very interesting paradigm shift that we're in currently.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm curious how, well, Chloe's obviously like an unusual exception to most of what you guys deal with and encounter. So
Mhm.
I am wondering how your view of Christians themselves has changed since you began the podcast. Like, I mean, obviously the Old Testament has had a huge impact on your understanding of their source texts, but in what way has that altered your perspective on the people who say, I am a Christian, I believe the Bible?
Can I I'm gonna answer part of this. I'll let you
Okay. I was
pipe
going
in
to
a
say
minute.
none, but
Well,
go ahead.
the thing is we've known different versions of Christians,
Mhm.
so it's hard to say how our perspective has changed. Like there's my parents who are like super hardcore, like to the max, fire and brimstone, total MAGA, all in on, all the worst aspects of it, right? And then there's my sister who's more like your laid back, chillaxed Christian who kind of seems like Chloe, honestly, is just more like, yeah, I believe in Jesus and take him as my Lord and Savior and all that. And I pray, but I'm not an asshole about it. And you do you, and I'll try to like live and let live. And I defend your right to believe how you want to believe, kind of thing. At least forgive me if I'm misspeaking about you, Chloe. That's my impression of you, and I mean it complimentary. So, um, toward that end, like I've also known, like my best friend went from Christian to Wiccan, and her brother went from hard Christian to hard atheist. So,
Wow,
like, yeah,
big
it's
change.
just, yeah. Well,
There were some precipitating factors. with
there
that,
were a
so.
lot of precipitating factors, yeah,
Mm.
and me and my best friend worked on him, and then there were some events that occurred that like
Aw, look at
finalized
you
the
over
shift.
there. Just
Yeah.
you're converting people to atheism,
Well,
which we all
I
know is a belief system apparently that requires great faith.
You have heard our story about we did go to church for a while, briefly.
Yeah, yeah.
But so
Sorry, that does get sidelined a lot. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, you guys. Our pastor, who was our pastor at that church, he's now an atheist, and
Yeah.
and we were the last people that he married too.
That's
So
true.
we like to take
So,
credit for that as well.
yeah, like
But
I
I
said,
was
you're converting.
yeah, we're doing our part.
Well,
But
all of that was to say, I think it's really hard to say how has your impression of Christians changed, or has it? And we haven't ever had like a solid like the Christian, like any one monolith. I think usually when we refer to Christians, like in quotes, as the stereotypical monolith,
yeah,
I think we are speaking to people that are more like my parents,
yeah,
probably.
the MAGA crowd, the right wing Christian nationalists. Definitely, that's who we are envisioning when we're saying Christian. Because that is what the impetus for us to have started this podcast, essentially. The infiltration of some of those more stringent laws from the Bible and from Christianity infiltrating their way into our political systems and into our laws.
Right.
Those are what kind of was the impetus for us to get into this in the first place. But we've always had great respect for people who, if it's a spiritual journey for themselves, it's not our place to interfere with that. Like, it's not our place to
Sure.
say that that's a bad or horrible thing for them. If you are doing you, continue to do so. Like
Sure.
I think that there are, with any religion, if you are taking a spiritual self journey
and you find comfort from it,
that it's not necessarily a bad journey, but it has to be a personal journey, in my opinion. If you are reaching out and dragging other people into it, that is a club. That is something more. That is recruitment. That is
a
so
cult.
much more than
right.
You just covered cults, so
yeah.
We just had an episode about that.
I know, that's what I was going to say.
and now we all know everything we need to know about cults. That's it. Nobody needs to ever ask any more questions. Everybody should be able to look at what you've given us and learn.
I think we all four here know that is not true, given that we got to the end of like an hour and some, and we're still like, oh my God, we've only scratched the surface.
Just started.
Between.
Yeah.
What is the difference between a cult and religion?
Well,
and
the
I still don't know the
difficulty,
fucking answer.
yeah, but the difficulty is that they're both conceptual categories, and you can't really define conceptual categories in a
Right.
way that actually makes a clear distinction. The moment you try, you're going to rule out something that everybody else would include, or rule in something that nobody else would want. So, like,
Right.
you just can't do it. You can't say where that line hard
That's
is.
why we
But
try not to define. We just ramble for an hour.
cool. Let's do that. I mean, I know a lot of people go with the bite model. A lot of that's focused on the control issues, and I feel like that's really a major characteristic of
What is-
cults.
What is the bite model?
I was about to ask that too. Thank you, Chloe.
Oh, I'm sorry. I will quickly pull up some Wikipedia for us.
I mean, I guess I could have just silently Googled
Or
it. I'm
something.
sorry.
No, it's fine.
No, I'm
We
sure.
all know Fern's quicker at that.
Well, I'm sure if me
all right.
and Chloe both don't know that means that the majority of our listeners don't know.
I
Right?
also don't know. So.
I'm so sorry. Right. So the
Goodness.
bite model is. Let's see if I can do this. Here we go. Oh goodness, that's a PDF to download. Motherfucker. Okay, so let's. Jesus Christ, where the fuck is this? There should be like a simple. Yeah, right? Like, what happened to the internet that was easy? Oh, right. It was never that. All right. Well, I don't know. We'll work with something. Sure, whatever. There's this behavior
Words. It's too many words.
bite model. Right. I know.
Just need, like,
Behavior.
headlines, you know?
Look
Come
at the
on.
baby.
Aw.
Look
What
at
about
the
this? What
baby.
about a diagram? Hello,
Yeah, diagrams
kitty.
are good.
Bite
What's
model.
Kitty's name? Love
Sydney.
Kitty.
Her name is
Aw.
Sydney.
Everybody chill out and pay attention to the cat while I look for a simple graphic.
You're making it difficult. We're watching you scroll through all the stuff, so we have to watch
Sorry.
the small screen for the cat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Whoops.
She's about 11 and a half years old.
How old?
Oh, Sydney is 11 and a half. She's an old girl.
Yeah,
Oh.
she's lovely though.
That's similar to our cat too.
Yeah.
Ours is pretty old too.
Love the
Alright.
old ladies. They're
Mm.
sweets.
Yeah.
Look at her. Oh my god.
And she cute. She's really
Mm.
kind.
Yeah.
She loves us
I
all.
love a kind
Alright.
kitty.
Okay. I know she's kind because she'll just hang out when I'm talking and doesn't have any problem with it. Okay. So BITE stands for behavior, information, thought, and emotion. So
Got it.
yeah, behavioral control, informational control, thought control, emotional control. And it gives you characteristics that symbolize or exemplify each one of those things. It's a basic model that we use to determine, is this a cult? Are we concerned about cult-like behaviors and activities going on here? So generally,
Sure.
if it fits the BITE model, yeah, it's probably a cult.
Not me over here taking notes.
Well, no, I think wife covered when we did our episode on cults. Wife covered a lot of those same ideas, but didn't invoke that model. So
it's a pretty recent simplification, and again, it's just a tool. It's not the tool. There are all kinds of ways you can work on, your own definitions of things, but it's pretty useful. I will put a link in the chat on YouTube.
You're a tool.
And you guys should be able to see it.
Why do you say that, wife? Because I was just going to say a tool is better than no tool.
No, see, you said a tool, and I was like, boom, there it is.
Always with the jokes. Can't you people be serious?
Sis the Fern.
Did you really want it that way? Come on now.
No, of course I don't. You know me. All right. Anyway, there's the. I put a link in the YouTube chat so you guys can get to it.
okay.
That was the little diagram thing, if it's useful to you. It's not the only method. It's just a useful one that's become popular recently.
No,
But
I
cults, I mean,
wrote it down so I would know to look at it later. So thank you.
yeah. Well, I mean, and you did that cult episode, religions leaning into the cult status recently. Like, it seems more like they are more and more cult-like as politics becomes a major factor.
I mean,
by the way-
MAGAism is specifically a cult for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of people are equating the right-wing movements to cult processes, the Trump cult, as you would call it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Husband, like, if I just want to clarify, because I think I heard you right. It was quite a bit back, not terribly far back. You said that, like, that Christian nationalists are what come to your mind when you think Christian?
Generally speaking, well, when I'm thinking of Christianity in a bad light. Yes. So like
I don't think you specifically said that, but I do think it's where
Something
we
along
lean
those
at this
lines.
point currently because of the current temperature.
it's definitely what I think of when I think of why we are doing our podcast and why we are bringing attention to, some of the things that are because to me, what is happening is that a lot of the hate from the Bible is being used in these new groups that are still calling themselves Christians, but they are more and more hate groups than they are Christian groups.
Mhm.
But they are utilizing the Bible and they're
Yes.
utilizing the words and the preconceived notions of Christianity to further their causes. And I think that is what is probably one of the most important things to give attention to is that idea that this does not represent correct society. And moreover, if you're going to start bringing God into this, then fine, we'll examine God, and that's what we're doing. We're examining God because we've been forced to, because it's part of what we are fighting politically at this point.
I do think that there might come a time on our podcast, and I'm probably speaking out of my ass here, so forgive me ahead of time. But I
You have
do
such
think
an
that
articulate butt.
dead ass dough. I do feel like there will come a time when we will have to define, like, what does Christianity mean? And I don't know that I'm the person to define that, but I sure as fuck am the person to ask it.
I don't think there's ever been a definition for Christianity.
No, but I think that it does bear the question though. Like, there are different kinds of Christians. There are different styles of Christianity. There are different ways of being Christian.
Maybe if we just define different humans.
Yeah.
Humans that accept people for who they are, humans that don't accept people for who they are.
So,
Well, yeah, those can be subsets of any group, right?
Sure. No, I'm just saying, but I mean,
but if we do that, that like takes the Bible out of what we're doing.
Right. No,
So
I'm just, it makes me angry how we have to fight this ever-growing group of people that is basically
Christian nationalism.
Christian nationalism. Yeah.
Like, I have several friends who are in a writing group because I am one who writes. And one of
read
them,
your writing someday, wife, because I also write.
it'll get there. But one of them is actually a somewhat like small-time published author who I'm on good terms with. And she just shared recently that, and she lives in Columbus, which isn't too far from Dayton. So I've run into her at writing conventions and other things of that sort. And she posted just today, shared with a small group of friends, that there were Nazis marching down the main street of Columbus, Ohio, and causing a ruckus. Like, it was just fine. It was not a big deal, except that one of them maced somebody in the crowd protesting it, so they got arrested.
Wow.
So, but just the fact that, like, we're talking about the Bible, we're talking about Christianity, but now we're talking about Christian nationalism, and that leads into the Nazis marching down Columbus.
Crazy.
Like,
Yeah.
It's such a straight walk from one to the other. Like, how did I get to Nazis from Bible? Come on now.
Yeah.
This should not be such a straight path.
Well, I just want to pop in here that, like, husband, the reason why I asked about that clarification is because, like, if that was the case, and it sounds like it's, like most, I'm getting the nuance, but like, since it's kind of mostly the case, I just want to say that I'm sorry, that apparently, like, I mean, and not just like, not like apparently, because like, I already had my own problem with how, what is just so vocal and so influential, both in and outside of my denomination and the whole world, is not the kind of Christianity that I wish more people could know. And I also just want to say that I think Christian nationalism is a contradiction in terms.
I agree with that.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I think that most people in your situation would agree with you and say that is not what Christianity is about. And most people that I know who are Christians, even the ones that are partially in the MAGA crowd, would say that that's not what Christianity is about.
Mhm.
Now,
Mm.
but that's
But
part
we're the
of
ones who are bearing the name, and
But,
right? Sorry, you
I
interrupt.
mean,
Sorry.
I just
Is it
don't.
where
I'm
we're
sorry. I object. Like I think to say that Christian nationalism is an oxymoron. I don't believe that's true. I think they're addressing two different aspects, and you just don't like the fact that the word Christian is being used in association with something that is
I disagree.
problematic. I don't think they're opposites at all. I think
okay?
one leads to the other. I really do. They're
But
an
you're making an
exclusive club.
assumption. You're making, but you made an assumption just now that like you think I'm like just subjecting because I just don't like that. No, no, no. I truly believe that Christian nationalism is a contradiction in terms.
Because, if I may, I think
Please.
Christianity, as it's sold as what it's supposed to be, as a person like Chloe or my sister believes, that is not anything at all like what Nazism is. And
or Christian nationalism.
Well, it's also
right,
not anything like what's in the Bible. So I'm just taking Christian to mean somebody who believes that Jesus was a Messiah as written of in the Bible. And if you take the Bible and you look at nationalism, they fit hand
but
in
that's
glove.
because Nazis are using and usurping. That's
Mhm.
not because that's what Christianity is supposed to be.
Is
At
it?
least
I
that's my
mean,
opinion.
you guys have been reading the Old Testament. You're aware of how nationalistic God is in that. Like
Ooh,
he's telling
husband's giving me the look.
what's the look?
Husband is on your side and he's looking at
Well,
me
no,
like,
I'm not. It's
I
not that I'm
think
on
Fern has
anybody.
a point.
It's not that I'm
No,
on
it's
anybody's.
not a matter of sides. It's just perspectives. That's all.
But I mean, Fern has a point in that God does choose a specific people, right? And so
Right.
what is happening in our society, because let's be honest, pretty much anybody who lives in America, on a generalized just statement here, right?
Mhm.
We think we're the best nation on the planet.
Do
Generalistically
The
speaking, right?
exceptionalism.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Okay.
But that just falls into line with the idea that we are God's country. Like God has favored
Right.
us, right?
God's
Divine.
chosen
So
people.
yeah,
What
so
was,
God
what was
is
it when they were given the divine mandate or something like that?
Oh, manifest destiny was a big part of
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Christian
Thank you.
identity too. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was trying to think of. Thank
so
you.
if
Right.
God has chosen us, it's not a large leap from there
All
to
right.
get to Christian nationalism, right? And look, I understand what you and Chloe are both saying. I think that on a very spiritual level, and again, this is where we're going back to, is it personal? Is it, like, what is Christianity to you, right? If it's
Mm.
personal, if it's not something where you're trying to be part of a larger crowd and gain points by being part of that crowd, if it is strictly personal as
Right.
far as your journey through this religious idea, that's one thing. But if you are joining the crowd and saying, I am part of this movement that is Christianity, that's where you run the danger of joining the cult side of it. That's where you run the danger of becoming part of that Christian nationalist movement, because you then fall prey to other people's idea of what Christianity should be and is.
This
Right.
touches on something I wanted to bring up anyways. I have a bunch of notes of things I was thinking of asking you guys or talking about. One of my notes is religious zealots' current professed values versus actually practiced values versus biblical
Mhm.
claims and examples. And I feel like there's really a triune kind of degradation. Like there's a differential between these things. There are people who are, staunch religious theocratic proponents, Christian nationalists, they're zealots. And then there are the people who have actual practiced values of what they say or what this is what Christianity is about, like people like Chloe who genuinely believe it's about love and try to be kind and decent to others.
And I want
And
to say
then
this real quick.
there's
I
yeah.
believe Chloe when she says that.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
I know Chloe well enough at this point that I appreciate her Christianity and her viewpoints with regard to that, because she's an ally. She is somebody
Right.
who I think is doing it. If you're gonna be a Christian, Chloe is doing it the way that I would want Christians to do it.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
and look, I
I'm very
know
honored.
that doesn't mean much from an atheist, right? Christians don't want to hear,
Are
oh,
you
an
kidding?
atheist approved of my Christianity, but
Well, I don't really. I mean, just knowing you, husband, the way that you are and the person that you are, I'm very honored by that. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, and that's actually my point. I used her as an example of the actually practiced values. and that's the uncommon one. And then there's the biblical claims and examples, and I feel like those three things are at odds with each other: the zealotry, the practical, actual, like down to earth Christians, and the biblical texts. I don't feel like those three things actually match up, but if anything matches up, it's like the zealots match up more with the Bible than anybody, frankly.
Okay.
Maybe that's
Not well,
where
but
my question came from. Sorry, Chloe, go ahead.
Okay, how do we all feel about Stephen Colbert?
I adore him.
Yeah.
Okay, I have
weird
a little,
ear.
huh?
One weird ear.
So, there is a page on Facebook that I follow, called Take Back Christianity, and this is from Stephen Colbert, and I've actually seen him speak like about these kinds of things. So, and
Isn't he Catholic, like a practicing Catholic?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure
Isn't that tragic?
Or it may
I don't necessarily think that's tragic, because isn't one of his closest friends like Neil deGrasse Tyson? And I just love, because Neil deGrasse Tyson is an atheist.
No,
they have some of the most cool conversations.
No,
Well,
I really like Stephen Colbert. He's a wonderful person. I believe Chloe posted this meme somewhere.
I don't know if it's a meme. I mean, it's a quote that has a picture of him next to it. Maybe that is a meme. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready to read it.
Okay, go. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was actually.
It was all my fault.
Okay, so this is Stephen Colbert. If this is going to be a Christian nation that doesn't help the poor, either we have to just pretend that Jesus was just as selfish as we are, or we've got to acknowledge that he commanded us to love the poor and serve the needy without condition, and then admit that we just don't want to do it.
Yeah, I think you posted that. It may be in our Discord. I did see that somewhere.
Okay,
I've read that before, and I didn't realize he was the one who said it, but I absolutely love it because it's so true.
And if I may, let's see here.
Where did you post that, Chloe? I was gonna put it on the screen for everybody, and I now I can't figure out where you left it.
Here, I'll just send it to you afresh. Hang on.
Do present, like pull it up on your screen somewhere and click
I'm
the
gonna
present
send
button.
it to. I don't know all of that. So I'm gonna do what's fastest. I'm going to send it to you on Discord.
Cool. I like Discord
because you're like there with like your grand everything computer, and you're like already with your tech. So
if anybody ever watches or listens to this at all, just a reminder: Sacrilegious Discourse does live Discord presentations every Wednesday currently.
Yep.
So please join us on Discord. Come hang out at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
And you can listen to all of the ways that the sausage is being made.
Other than the preamble before, which is about an hour long, and the however long it takes before I poop on the party afterwards, the podcast itself is pretty much just like the podcast,
It's sometimes just too fast. Hey, hi Heather. Heather's in the chat.
Oh yay!
Nice to see you.
So, and also, real quick before we go on, I'd like to, I'm not going to attempt to read something long, or let alone the whole chapter. But you've seen different quotes and such, and you've gone to church enough that you've heard some things, about Jesus being a lot more marketable and nicer. And I'm somebody who believes that, one of the many things that can go like under the umbrella reason of why Jesus came to become a permanent member of humanity.
For the pizza?
is to help give us a picture, an intimate picture of the heart of the Father. Because as like all kinds of, episodes of Sactus and just this podcast so far has happened, and he also did this to give this intimate view of the Father's heart to the Jews, to the people then, not just us now, because God had been misunderstood, and also things had happened and time had gone by and clarification was needed. And in just in terms of his values, like this is just a tiny little taste of things that are all over the New Testament, and also Fern,
Let's get to it.
I've been very good.
Let's get to it. Go ahead, read your thing.
In it, this is a little taste of like the kind of value system and lifestyle that's all over the New Testament, like including at the very beginning of the early church after Jesus ascended to heaven, which was just practically socialism. Just everyone helping each other and sharing. And so here, but this is like in the Gospel of Matthew, this is just a little piece at the very last parable of this last closing set of 3 parables that Jesus used when he was talking about like end times and whatnot. And this is Fern. Can
we just?
Fern.
Well, I mean, I'm really averse to the idea of reading scriptures right now. Can you just go ahead and get it over with? So
I'm trying to.
Then get started, please.
Okay. So this enough times close together and I get a little bit anxious and then I start to kind of just slow down a bit and I'm sorry. And I'm just like, I have a lot of anxiety in general. So anyway, when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. So basically it's like, okay, this is at the end. Everyone's gathering. Okay. And, he uses like the metaphor of the sheep and the goats to just talk about like who will be in heaven and who won't. And so, and to people who will be in heaven, and then he just flips this around to those who won't. And I'll just like address. Well, I always talk about. I sometimes I just always focus on like what he just says to the people who won't be in heaven, because I mean, it's just, you can just imagine what the opposite flip is. I am going to do what I usually do. Okay. All right. So he says to those on his left who are not going to be in heaven, "Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not take me in. I was naked, and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you did not visit me." And they too will reply, "Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger, naked or sick or in prison, and did not minister to you?" Then the king will answer, "Truly, I tell you, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me." And so it's like these categories of people being hungry and needing something to eat, thirsty, being a stranger, like not belonging, not having enough clothes, being sick, being in bondage, and not having community. And Jesus, who comes to represent the heart of the Father, he identifies himself. He uses his power to then identify himself forever with what is described as the least of these, meaning like the people that will be most inclined to devalue. And then he's like, whatever you did or did not do for the people that you most want to devalue, who are the least powerful, you did or didn't do that for me. And so he elevates them that way. And that's going to just, I know, seem like a huge class to the Old Testament. And I just wanted to put that in there.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I'm really familiar with that.
I have heard that. And I think that's kind of the part of Christianity that is like the nice part. You know what I mean? The part where we say we think that Christianity should be this way. That represents how we wish Christianity was for everybody who claims to be a Christian.
Well, but also if you're taking, and this is, and I've never read the New Testament, so I don't know the quotes. I don't know that quote.
I'm very familiar with it, and yeah,
sure, no, and I'm sure probably anybody listening to this that has read that is religious or Christian, I mean, probably knows that quote because those are very popular books with.
It's an imploring that is often heard in a church service.
Sure, and I get where Chloe's coming from with regard to how he's phrasing that, but also if you take that in context with what we have read in the Old Testament, and he's saying that you haven't, you haven't done these things for me. There's definite context from the Old Testament that would mean that still implies the things that God gets jealous about that you don't do for him, which includes the worship, which includes the, just
the fear,
all the things that are implied in that could be implied in that same statement. And to me, that is part of the issue that we have with the Old Testament still. And and I'm not trying to disparage that statement. I'm just trying to say that I think probably one of the biggest the reasons that we have so many different ideas of what Christianity is and so many different problems and or whatever the case is, you can interpret so many different ways what is said in the Bible, and you can make it mean whatever you want it to mean. And this is why I harp on that personal journey. If you are a Christian, to me, it's a personal journey of what those words mean to you. And I'm okay with that, right? But if you are part of a group, that group is going to tell you what those words mean to you. And that's where it starts to become an issue, because someone is telling you what it means to you. And to you, Chloe, I know what those words mean because I know you well enough to know that those words mean good things.
Because you are an extremely empathetic, kind, and loving person. Genuinely, that is what you're taking from it. And I love that about you. I love that those words mean that to you. I do.
Right. Chloe is kind of the, like, if we could say there is a religious person, specifically a Christian, that is something I'm comfortable with, which I feel isn't doing things badly, then Chloe is kind of the exemplar of that for me.
Absolutely.
That being said, I feel like it also kind of highlights that Christianity can be whatever it is you want it to be, because the same people who are out there with their God hates F slur signs are reading the same book she is, and they're just picking different parts of it. She's picking, like the good parts, the wholesome parts, the healthy parts that are like, be loving, do good for others, take care of those who are sick and needy. Like, that's, it's a wonderful sentiment, but it's also just a tiny sliver of what's in the text.
Okay,
I mean,
can agree with that. I can agree with that. And I appreciate that you are picking out those good parts. And I think that completely defines you as a person, Chloe, like that you would pick out those great parts that are so meaningful and so like what love should be, what humanity should be. I just think speaks so highly of you.
Well, thank you. And I just I want to be a cliche Christian and point back to Jesus, because the way that I select the things that I keep pointing to, and I really want to thank the author John Eldredge in this. He got really famous for like certain earlier books to do with like some gender stuff that would probably piss a lot of people off today, and it was like in the early 2000s. But like, I really love most like his contributions about the heart of Christianity the most. And like, he's like, okay, so why did Jesus come? You get a lot of answers from people, so like, let's have him answer for himself. And then he, just kind of hones in on this. He hones in on like, well, let's find like the root answer. I like how he pursues good answers that have really just felt to me like good answers over time. And then like, so like there's a lot of content throughout the Bible, and there's also like a lot of places where I won't deny at all. Not only will I not deny because I know that they're there, but then also there's places I haven't studied where in the Old Testament, it's very different tone, and just it's just different. And I haven't studied enough to do a lot of justice. I know that in the minor prophets, like the tiny prophetic books that we haven't gotten to yet, at the end of the Old Testament, you will there's more content that'll sound very similar to like that passage in Matthew I read about like, serving the vulnerable, not exploiting them. But like, so if God is love and if God is God, then like what he says about himself and how he represents himself, and when he does major things, and when he says key things at important times, like his closing parable before he then is crucified, and then like what he does with his disciples before then, which is to take on the role of a servant and wash his disciples' feet. And like I'm looking for like core things and theme things. I'm not trying to look at an array of things and say like, oh, there's the pink and purple stuff, I like that. I'm trying to like look at like I'm trying to look at the body, kind of like, you study A&P, and you think about some of the most vital organs and the most vital parts of the skeleton structure. I'm trying to look for that kind of thing in the Bible. That's how I'm trying to like pick out.
If we're looking
what is this that you just posted, Fern?
If we're looking at the entire picture, though, right? And you said earlier that you haven't read as much of the Old Testament as you would probably like, right?
I want to get through all of it. I'm not one who's like, I've read through my Bible like seven times. And
I'm not trying to call you out here. I'm just saying. But
no, you're okay. You're okay.
If we're trying to look at the picture overall, and God is God, right? The Old Testament God is God. Jesus is, you know,
An
something
extension
is
of
an
God.
extension of God essentially,
Mhm.
but
Oh, I'm
not
gonna need a
not the
beer if
God.
we're gonna keep doing this.
But if we're trying to understand that God fully, and even his representative, I don't really even know how to refer to Jesus because I don't know
We're
enough
not
about
there
him. We're not
yet.
there yet, yeah.
That's okay.
But if we're trying to refer to him, like, then shouldn't we first start by trying to understand where Jesus sprung from? Like, isn't it more important to understand where this began as opposed to where it ended up?
I think that's a fascinating point. I see how that would like definitely like give pause, and then my Adventist brain like see where it all began. Yeah, and then my Adventist brain wants to go to a place that is outside the Bible, but that I do believe was prophetic writing. I won't go into all that now, but like my
Is it the
brain
Book of
wants
Mormon? Is it the Book of
no,
Mormon? Is
no,
it the Pearl
dear,
of Great Price?
no,
Is it Doctrine and
no,
Covenants?
no. It's the Great
No, it's none of those,
Controversy.
but those are all scripture.
No, but okay. So, you're from Mormonism. I'm Adventist. I'm from and I'll say I'm from Adventism because I mean I still identify for years now as Adventist in my theology, but just increasingly I don't represent the culture and I don't resemble the culture. But
I'm grateful.
you haven't even gotten familiar with it. But anyway, so but yeah, it's ours is this book called The Great Controversy by Ellen White, but I mean she wrote lots of things.
So many
But
things.
yes.
Ugh.
So but like but by the way, husband, like you want to say so Old Testament and then like the people with their like terrible signs and whatnot and the behaviors and like the Christian nationalism behaviors. So okay, well here's some Old Testament that they decided to skip over. And you know, and I remember I used this in a presentation in my ethics class about how the way that most Christians relate to the queer community is actually unethical. And because they use the word abomination so much, like, oh, you're an abomination, I was like, well, and then when I decided in my project to like look up the word abomination and where all it shows up, guess what? There's this really and if you guys have been through Proverbs, you probably covered this. In Proverbs 6, there are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to him. And none of these have to do with sexuality or gender identity, by the way. Haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that make haste to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among brothers, or communities, whatnot. And so
But
it's
there
like,
are specifically things in Leviticus that are supposedly God's law that he does call out that people use as the reason that they don't like the queer community.
yeah, and that is also like where I need to. I mean, I know that there's stuff to do. I know that there's like the homosexuality versus and I hear you. And then also like if they want to like have feelings and express concerns, then they should be they should be doing it in a way that still makes an effort to be in harmony with a character of love and gentleness, and not by like, oh, like let's tell lies, let's just be quick to like kill people, let's make evil plans, let's hurt, let's just be fast to do harm,
It
because I mean,
almost sounds like you're saying let's not be assholes.
yeah, there you go.
No,
Let's not
and I
be a
agree with
dick.
that sentiment. I agree with that sentiment. But the truth is that and I'm sure you know this, Chloe, but we do an episode at the end of every book of the Bible. At least
Okay.
now, that's called a contradictions episode, right?
You're always wrong.
that one. Anyway,
Anytime wife sings, we're all happy with it.
So I guess my question is this, and I know you guys are interviewing us, but I got a question here. So if God contradicts himself, which he does, I mean, I absolutely know that because I've read it. I've read where God's word contradicts God's word, right? If God can contradict himself, then how is it that anybody can be wrong about God? How can it be that you can say whatever you want, but in the end, if we're taking the Bible as God's word and there are contradictions, absolutely contradictions, how can that be correct? How can that be a basis for, whatever it is we're trying to pitch? And look, as far as philosophy goes, this is why I'm okay with personal growth and personal,
Spiritual
journeys, because
Mhm.
if you accept the fact that humans wrote it, which is absolutely the case, then you have to take the ideas that you find in there and you have to make them be what you want them to be
You
to
have
fit
to take it with
the
a grain of
spiritual
salt.
journey that you want to make, right?
Mhm.
But if you want to use the Bible, and this is where I get caught up in a lot of theological debates with people. If you want to use the Bible as a reason for doing this or a reason for doing that, there are so many ways that I can just absolutely take that apart every single time with the Bible, because the Bible says so many things. It says almost everything you would ever need to say anything at all that you want to say. And that's my biggest issue with the Bible, with the statements in the Bible that we've read so far, and with how reverent people treat the text of that Bible, especially the people that are using something like the King James Bible, because that was written in such a manner that it's so
More
not
political
part
than
of the original translations. I mean, like, it's so far apart from original translations, and it's just it makes me crazy. That's all. There's so much wrong. That's all.
What is the word for that? Where there's a difference, a distinction between reading the biblical text as it is and reading the biblical text with your own like kind of agenda. Is it like is it exegetical, or am I transferring the wrong word over?
I will trust your judgment on that because I don't actually know.
I
I'm
don't.
certain.
No, I don't trust my judgment on that.
I'm certain that people will accuse us of doing that, which is not
somewhat
unfair.
fair.
Are you
Yeah,
trying to
know.
think of hermeneutics or
No,
like
not
exegesis
hermeneutic.
or
Hermeneutics has to
eisegesis?
do with
Yeah.
the
Okay.
word,
So
right?
exegesis, if I'm not mistaken, exegesis is reading the text as it is, and then no, is it the other way around?
So
Exegesis is.
exegesis means to draw out of the word, and eisegesis is to put into the word.
Oh, okay. So that's what I was trying to get to. All right. So yeah, eisegesis is what husband is talking about, I think. The idea that you are looking at the biblical text and then using your own motives and reference points and your own values to impose
Agenda.
some meaning. Yeah, you've got an agenda that you're asserting on the text, whereas exegesis is the exegesis. Exegesis is the term that it's the same thing. I've been drinking. I'm just gonna say that out loud.
God bless us all.
Which one? Are we gonna go with Brahma? I like that one.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Yeah, honestly, like I've been taking so many little extra notes that coincide with other little notes that I've made that like we have touched on so much stuff that I kind of wanted to get to with you guys. I sort of want to jump a little bit because of that.
Okay.
So, we're talking currently about exegesis, eisegesis, like that concept of whether you're reading something in or taking it directly as it is. And I feel like that's kind of a vital turning point for pretty much anything we can talk about in terms of what does Christianity really look like and
Sure.
what is it actually supposed to be about, etc. Because it all comes down to like how people choose to extrapolate information from those texts.
I actually still. Okay, sorry. Continue, and then okay.
Okay.
I'm worried I may have given you the wrong word still. Like I'm
think that's correct words. Those are the words I couldn't recall off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure that.
Then I think we need to find you a new word because
well,
I don't think that exegesis just means to take it as it is. These are methods of Bible study. But I don't even know if eisegesis is actually.
Well, it's okay. So like exegesis being like a critical explanation or interpretation of the text, right? Like that's you're actually just paying attention to the text itself.
Well, it means
right?
to draw out of the word, and so you spend time reading, and then you make deductions based on like really just
that,
like what it
hold
actually
on. Okay,
says.
first of all, look, when you keep saying the word, you're putting a religious spin on it.
I apologize.
That's not what I've heard. That's not
I'm not
how
meaning,
I've heard the term used. I've heard it used.
Forgive me, I slip into my mother tongue. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm just saying like that's not the way that's not what I was
Bible.
trying to get at.
I need to keep sorry.
Biblical text.
I have ruts of like the kind of like words and things that come up with these words. Sorry.
So yeah, so we're tangenting here. Anyway, husband, wife, your engagements
Yes.
with these texts, how you've read them, what you've gotten from them, what has that actually made easier for you or more difficult for you in terms of like how you approach the world and the people that you know, that kind of thing?
I'm so sorry. Can you ask that again?
Okay, so I'm curious to know how you approach the people in your life or the people that you interact with, wherever, whether online or wherever it is. How has the text either improved or impeded your capacity to have those kinds of contents, those kind of discussions and relationships with one another?
I'll field this one first because I think that probably, well, actually, both of our parents, but specifically my mom, who I would call her a spiritual Christian. She is not. She doesn't go to church. She
has never really read the Bible.
Never really read the Bible. She just considers herself a Christian and knows that God is real. That's basically her whole concept.
And she also has said to me that she does believe that Jesus died for her sins and came back to life.
Sure, no,
she did tell me that too.
Yeah, she's got a specific idea of what it is. Yeah, what it means to her, and then she's fine with that.
Yeah. And she's also, I should add, a very, very sweet person.
Yes. And we've had a lot of conversations with her with regard to Christianity and what it means in this current climate, in this current world. And it's helped us speak to her much more intelligently about what Christianity kind of says on the matter. And so it definitely, reading the Bible has made us understand different things in culture and in conversation that can relate back to the Bible, and it relates to how we interact with people that have questions to us with regard to to religion and things like that too. Your mom even.
Well, okay, let me say more about your mom for a minute. She is very much like Chloe to me in that she's just a very sweet, kind person. Whereas Chloe reads the Bible, your mom doesn't. The heart is the same in my mind, like just very kind, sweet, loving, empathetic people. So when we have conversations with her, it's not, in my opinion, improved our relationship one way or the other because she never talked religion with us or judged us, or like it was never a thing. It's only given us yet another cool thing to talk about with her because we're like, hey, guess what we read? And she's like, what? And then we talk about it with her and she's like, dude, I didn't know that. Like, I never read that. And so
you're doing Bible study with her.
Kind of. Yeah.
I mean,
she's actually one of our patrons. My mom actually.
Aww.
Yeah. I mean, we bring her the stuff that she hasn't read, and then, I mean, okay, this is how cool she is. Every time we go over, she like drinks a little, and one time we took Kid over, and she drank a little, and we played Cards Against Humanity with her, and like it was not, it was not bad. It was like the funnest time. So I mean, she is a really cool person. So I mean, to say, has it changed our relationship?
What about your conversations with your parents?
That has been interesting.
Yeah.
That I would say is where I've noticed a little bit of a difference. I don't know if it's better or worse,
but it's allowed you to push back a little bit.
Well, okay,
somewhat.
Yeah. Here's the thing. They don't specifically know that we are straight up hardcore atheists. So there's that. They don't know that we are doing a straight up hardcore atheist podcast.
Yeah, so don't tell her.
Yeah, don't call my mom. Oh my God, don't tell my mom.
What's her number? No.
I'm telling your mom.
Within the last, God, you don't know. Okay, that's a different story. Never mind. I'm not going there.
Okay.
Like, don't make me look over my shoulder, please.
I'm just kidding. I would never tell your mom or you for anything because I don't know her.
Okay, like I have, this is a different story, but I have like two separate relationships with my mom. One is like my mom as she was a parent to me when I was a child, and she was a scary, mean bitch. And then the other one is as she is now, where now she's a Christian and she's kinder, even though her attitudes are crueler. So it's a really, it's very weird.
Well, like they have, our child is identifies as LGBTQIA, and they don't accept that, and they post things very anti that on their social media feeds
that we don't read on purpose.
That is so hard, though. Like, that's so hard to have somebody like that in your life, and you like, I want to keep you in my life, but man, it's tough when you make it so hard.
Well, we don't read their stuff, they don't read our stuff, and we go over for dinner every couple weeks, and sometimes me and husband go over and shoot darts. They love Kid, and Kid loves them, and Kid
is awesome.
Yeah, Kid is awesome. Kid also understands that with boomers in general, whatever way they lay, that there is going to be some forgivability factor because they just can't take in new information, and society has changed too fast for them. They just can't. I mean,
even my mom has trouble with them.
Your mom husband is awesome, and she's one of the best examples of kindness and understanding in a boomer, and she tries so fucking hard, and she like,
that's what I was gonna say. I remember you guys talking about her and saying like how much she has trouble with it, but she's always trying to do right, and I feel like that's so undercredited. Trying is so hard and so important.
It is, and it makes all the difference in the world. And there's that forgivability factor built in because she does try and she does care. And the last thing that we're actually really hardcore working on her with is trying to get her to stop dropping the R word.
That's rough.
Referring to people as mentally impaired. She hadn't really realized until we pointed out that, like, we don't do that. That's actually harmful.
It's like the N word for Black people. You don't do that. You don't call people the R word for being mentally disabled. It's not appropriate.
But that generation
it hurts people
a lot of the time.
And it does hurt people, and she doesn't mean it. And so because she cares, there is a little bit of forgivability factor in, and we keep trying, and she keeps apologizing and keeps trying to. So we'll get it. We'll get there.
I mean,
was there any word in her era that did at least have that lesson with it? Like, was there a word that changed meaning in your era that you stopped using? Because basically, whatever brain grooves you developed in that experience, you just need to apply that here because this is that, you know.
Well, I read somebody said. You can figure out the fucking word quinoa. You know, you can figure this shit out. You know, you can figure out how to say that. You can figure this out. It's not hard. And
you know what? I liken it to the whole like married versus unmarried female appellations, right? So like, look, if you can remember to say Mrs. instead of Miss, you can learn other things. You can. You really can. I know there's a whole lot of different mental baggage associated with those words, but I'm just letting you know you're capable. You're capable. I want you to feel confident that you're able to overcome this. It might be hard. You might not always do it right. Fuck, I don't do it right. I don't do the pronoun shit right, and I use they them pronouns. I still fuck up.
You know I don't get it right either.
You know we don't get it right.
Yeah, and which is why you guys we all know. Right, we all give each other a certain level of forgiveness about it, and as long as everybody's willing to keep trying and be accepting of correction when it needs to be done, then everybody's fine. We're good. I mean, I feel like we're all on that same page.
One of my bare minimum personal commandments is intention matters. You know, it just does.
Yes.
It's a good maxim.
To get back to my mom, so there was, you know, how she was as a child versus now how she is as an adult, and I'm trying really hard to build this relationship with this person that like I don't relate to at all, but I care enough to make the effort. And so how the relationship with her has changed a little bit, and again, I don't know if this is for better or for worse so much as just different, is that when they do talk about Bible-y things, and I say that so dismissively, Bible-y, you know,
Bible-y things, you know, the old book, the book.
Yeah, like with
keep going, wife.
The last few months, I actually told her, well, actually, husband and I have been reading the Bible, and I just let her like take that as she would, and I knew that she would take it for the best. So was I misleading? Yes. Do I feel guilty about it? Absolutely
a little bit. A little bit. Or you wouldn't be mentioning it.
All right, maybe. You're right. You're right. Only because I have a good heart. That's all. A fucking heart.
So,
So,
I mean, has that? Yeah, go
so
on.
sometimes she'll say something and I'm like, oh, that's not the way I read that. Interesting. What do you mean by that? And because I actually read that and I know a little bit more about it, it's allowed us to, I don't want to say like have a meeting of the minds because I still think she's dumb as rocks when it comes to her interpretation of it. But at least it gives us a little bit of with each other. So it's given us the ability to give each other a little bit more grace. Like she knows, oh wow, my kid's reading the Bible at least. I mean,
Right.
she is the bad one that engaged in premarital sex and got pregnant and
Wait, you did what?
I know,
No.
right? And has been married more than once and has, had a child out of wedlock, like I'm
Shocking.
closing in on 50 and these are still the things that I wear like clothing labels
As a
my
bastard,
skin.
I'm so sorry. Oh
as
my
a bastard
God.
myself, I just want to say thanks.
Oh. You'll always be my bastard, baby.
It's very kind of you.
Wife, I am so sorry.
You know what? Speaking of obnoxious bastards, you guys still engage on shitter a lot.
Yes, we do.
I don't.
So my
shitter?
long, complicated question on that is, what the fuck?
Well, so we started our platform pretty much sprung up from Twitter because that's where I did.
Oh,
all the
Twitter.
engaging.
Okay.
So that's what I said.
See, I call it Twixer.
I understood.
I'll type it as Twixer.
So we have well, it's dropped recently because everyone's leaving for Blue Ski. We call it Blue Ski. It's Blue Sky. Sorry, but whatever.
I
So
left
we have
this guy really quickly, so whatever.
Yeah. We've got nearly 11,000. We had over 11,000, but now it's nearly 11,000 followers on Twitter.
Wow.
And so it's our biggest platform by far. And
it made it really hard to justify husband giving that
it's
up.
not just hard. It's that when you are a platform, there are certain algorithms that tie in major social media accounts to your algorithm as far as how you show up in search results. So the calculation for me is more about maintaining for that sake more than anything else.
Right.
And occasionally I do go down a rabbit hole with a crazy Christian that wants to argue with me or something like that. So, but that's just me and my personality and how I end up, dealing with certain situations.
Right. Yeah, well, and I get it. It's to disengage from shitter, you'd basically be shooting yourself in the foot because it is your largest area of engagement. So,
yes,
fuck, you might.
If all we did was go over there and post memes and that's all we were, then I would absolutely just ditch it and move to another platform.
No.
But it's more than that because it ties back to so many things in our platform. So
right, and when you hire your social media manager, it'll be a whole different story.
I'll just be happy when I start paying myself for being that myself.
Right, there you go. That's... All right, hold on. Let me mark off my note here to ask about shitter. God, I fucking hate shitter so bad. But I do. I understand.
Let's give a tiny little percentage because Fern, that's how you and I became friends.
No, not really. It was YouTube, and then you happened to be on Twitter. It was the only way to get in touch with you. And frankly, if I hadn't still been on Twitter at the time, I would have been like, fuck it. Well, we never would have met.
But history.
But whatever. So anyway, so look, but okay, so a whole different tack, an entirely different question here. Husband, wife, when you finally complete all of the Bible, I know we've probably you've touched on this a little bit about the ideas of maybe doing the Quran or something else. Maybe you could do some of Ellen White's bullshit or Joseph Smith's bullshit, something like that.
You're so mean. I just have to say, Fern, you were so mean to Chloe, and Chloe
I
is
know.
so forgiving of your cruelty.
She knows I'm teasing her, and she also knows that I love her. She's a wonderful human, and I tell her that.
Yes, she is.
When I am off screen, I will tell her that. I'm not saying it while we're live. Fuck. No. Actually, I was thinking what might be a good follow-up for you guys is doing the apocryphal texts because they're still technically part of the biblical text. They're not like, thrown out or anything.
Definitely
That is what we're
that's
doing.
on the list.
That's definitely one of the things we're doing.
Yep.
Okay,
and
cool.
to that point, actually, we've had a lot of text or a lot of conversations over the 4 years that we've been doing this podcast.
Yeah.
And initially, they started with the idea that we might move on to other biblical or other religious texts, other than non
Do the Bhagavad Gita.
Christian but biblical,
Right.
whatever. We've started backing away from that because there's so much. Now that doesn't.
It would be starting over, right?
It would be starting over, and
when we're not really done with what we're doing.
Yeah, I think that there is. So here's the thing, right? The United States is essentially, if we're going to call it any one religion, it's a Christian nation.
It
right?
thinks it is anyway.
It thinks it's a Christian nation. So it's the one that affects us here in the States the most. And it's the one that is definitely influencing laws in states and in the national government and ideologies that are getting people that we don't like elected and things like that. Right?
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We feel that it has to be continue like that we feel like this has to be something that we will continue to cover. Now, I don't know what the future holds exactly. Maybe at some point we do become bigger than what we are currently, and we will have the ability to have a producer and do a separate podcast where we cover the Quran, or we do something where we do, I don't know.
Or we get arrested because Trump is in charge of things. Who knows?
That's possible too. Let's not rule anything out. I might go to prison too for being trans, so that's fine.
Right.
Yeah, and if
Everybody,
that
my
happens,
blood
I'm gonna go
pressure?
down shooting.
Everybody, my blood pressure.
Okay, all right. So
Calm it down,
but-
calm it down.
regularly now.
I think the reason that I think the apocryphal texts are really valuable is because I feel like with so much of your podcast so far, your focus, your time, your energy, and like you said, the cultural touchstone of it, Christianity is so central in what you've been doing. I think reading the apocryphal text would be really valuable because a huge amount of what people think of as modern Christianity, I recall it coming from the Enochic literature. So when you start reading like the Book of Enoch, you're going to be like, oh, that's where they got that shit from. And so I feel like that's going to be really vital.
Listened to a podcast recently that had some information about that, which made me think the same thing actually. So, it was just we're amongst friends, heroes, data versus dogma. So they were talking about.
Oh yeah,
that's a great podcast.
God, I love Data Over Dogma. That's it's one of the only podcasts that I religiously listen to besides your own. Actually,
Okay, so
you know what? Hold
the-
on. Actually, I listen to it more than I listen to yours. If I can be an admitted asshole.
Hey, now
about that.
that's it. We're cutting this interview off.
Fuck! I ruined everything.
I mean, you always show up on our lives, so you do
Yeah,
whatever makes you happy.
That's right.
I love your lives. They're my community at this point.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
have
true, honestly.
We love it as well.
I don't have peers outside of it's everything else is just like, oh, these are people I know at work. These are people I live with. That's it.
Right.
It's me and Chloe hang out, we talk, we chat, and a lot of times we talk about what you've got going on and what's happened on the show and stuff. So
Well,
you guys are a big part of our lives, my life anyway. So
and
Chloe's got other
vice
shit.
versa, honestly.
Yeah,
So,
honestly, when we do our back porch talks, you guys are right there at the top.
yeah.
All right, stop. I wasn't gonna cry.
Well, I mean, I guess my life does always have like a lot of stuff going on in it, but like I do want to say that, starting from, just a few times after a few times joining, like you guys were so warm and kind and just took me as I am. And, at all the different stages, what I was going through and believing differently, like I was like the one Christian resident, like there in like Sactus. But you guys were just cool with me there and let me be me. And I was just like, and I wasn't like there like with an agenda, and I was, interested to just be in new places and spaces, meet new people. And that's that whole thing of like having community there. That's definitely also like one of my spaces for just like feeling welcomed and known and like I belong. So I really love you all.
I say this is a joke, kind of, but it has some truism to it too.
Okay.
I think, Chloe, you'll find some of the best Christians are atheists.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I already have.
Excuse me, I'm right here.
Honey, you're one of them.
It's just, one of those things that always occurs to me. Like I do feel like there is a lot of warmth in the atheist community.
Oh,
and
yes.
in people who are non-secular or who are secular. And because you're not tied up, you're more, if you are an empathetic human being, your empathy is directed at a person and not at a idea. And so I feel like it is much easier to focus your empathy and your caring on individuals as opposed to something outside of that.
Right. Well, I think it's that whole focus on the here and now, on the people that we are and the people we're with, the communities we have now, rather than let's all worry about heaven and hell.
Because it's all we have. Like that's
Right.
what we are.
This is the only life I get. This is the most important life I could possibly have. This isn't some test for later on. This is it. This is all I get.
As long as it's Scantron and I can choose C all the way down, I'll be good.
In heaven, there is no beer.
Oh goodness.
That's why we're gonna. I mean, what the fuck? I've got to drink it here, which I am currently doing that.
Oh goodness. So I just. Wife. So like Fern's been educating me quite a bit, and I'm recognizing what I'm hearing about, like, let's be intentional with people because this is all we have. And something that Fern knows I brought up a lot, and I think I've brought it up and talked to your plants as well, and I think also Insectus, is that like my I have this thing about people who profess to be Christians being biblically loyal. Okay, wait, kind of yes, are closer to Jesus than being Christians. Yep.
Thanks, wife.
And thank you, wife. And oh shit, my train of thought. Hang on a minute. Don't give up on me.
Sorry, I do that. I derail shit all the fucking time.
Don't give up on me. Move up too fast. Where was I?
Kalamazoo.
Ooh, no. No. Oh.
I'm looking for my plug.
I'm sorry, broken. Chloe. I completely derailed you. I apologize.
Yeah, you did. But see, I can't remember where I started. It was a really.
I'm sorry. I didn't expect you to be paying any attention. I thought you were gonna be doing your own thing and not see what was happening on the screen. I'm sorry.
I see. Like I've been saying this for like a few months now about like how the past year and a half or so of my life has changed the functionality of my brain and worsened my ADHD. It's like my attention span is a cotton ball and everything is nail polish. Everything. And I'm like,
I'm gonna share something.
What?
Samesies.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Do you guys remember where I was?
Like, what were we talking about?
I actually don't know. I'm so sorry.
I had just taken off my
I've been drinking.
earbuds.
Wife started.
We were talking about like atheists being
better than Christians. No, that wasn't it.
Just
being.
Like
atheists being better Christians.
Empathy and
yeah.
Oh, my beef.
I kind of just meant that.
Okay, hold on. My beef within is like being biblically loyal, like you say you believe. So like, okay, that was a piece. Hold on a minute, and I'm working up to something with that. But that was a piece. Oh, I hate it when this happens.
No, you're there. You're getting there. Good job. Keep going.
We'll just edit this out.
Huh?
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
We'll just edit this out later.
No, but this is the charm of talk to your plants. We don't edit.
I know.
Yeah, it's a principled stand. It's not because I don't know how.
That was how I went with it at first.
Love it.
Oh goodness.
Oh, just for the record, I'm sorry.
No, keep talking, and maybe it'll help it come back to me. Keep going.
We recorded our first probably year and a half of our podcast on a Samsung phone.
We did.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, shit, I have a Samsung phone.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I'm over here using
that's
fucking
when I harped on
StreamYard.
it. We like, by principle.
Oh, I remember.
Okay,
get it. Say it.
Okay. So the whole taking care of people because this lifestyle you have, and Fern's been educating me, and the thing about being loyal to what we say we believe. So, I mean, so.
Mm-hmm.
when people aren't good to others and when people aren't intentional with others, I am saddened to know that has become like a pretty marked difference between atheists and Christians, because like what not just what I've been taught, but also just now like what I've explored and just embraced for myself, and it just feels really clear to me and makes sense that like the way that I believe is that the only thing that we take with us to heaven is our character. And you can't really build and transform character over time unless you are doing it from the deep inside out. And also, again, I'm not gonna like quote scripture again, but like,
Thank you.
but believing in Christianity, where God is love, and when love is a central value rather than fear mongering and punishment and just anger and all these other things, then like loving people and taking every moment to be utterly intentional and good to people and valuing them should be just always there, rather than this place where atheists are so much better than a lot of Christians are. And okay, now that I'm so glad I finally like found that and remember that. And then this other thing, another way that I really love what I have found in the atheist community has to do with the love of truth, because I'm sure as soon as I say this, I'll be like, oh, it's not just Adventism, it's everywhere too. Okay, but anyway, for me, I was immersed in it with an Adventist, fingerprint, that like, being like, we need to like be in the truth and like have the truth and care about truth and all this other. And the thing is that like, it makes me already like think a little bit of that bite model, because from earlier, because like to really love the truth, you have to be willing to never stop learning.
Right.
Like, and to be truly curious and to not let yourself just get so easily thrown off in a conversation, in a pursuit of an answer, and like, and so much more. Like later, like I've experienced this. My own denomination is always what I can speak most strongly to, but like, if you start to deviate from whether it's like something that's like an aesthetic value of appearance, or if you start to express something in a different way, maybe it's the same thing, but like it just in a different way, or maybe it just really is like contrary to something super, super cherished. Like, too often mountains are made out of molehills, rather than like just always learning. And so like Fern adores science. I've always loved science, but like Fern is like just like rekindled that, and then also taught me a lot more about science and about like things being related to. And so it's like, I mean, there's a beauty with the objectivity and aspects also like the scientific method, and then just like truly wanting to know what is true. If you're really wanting to know what is true and also wanting to be in the truth, then like you don't get your panties in a twist and ego offended about the possibility that you might be wrong, because your security isn't found in being the most powerful or most in control or perfect or admired. It's not about having control of others and an image. It's that you love the truth. You want to know the truth. And so that way it doesn't have to be threatening when you find out a way that you're wrong, because like, oh, that's okay. No, thank you for telling me that. I'm glad. I want to know that so I can do better, so I can, go forward more. And I love how I experience this dynamic as thriving so much more in the atheist community than I've ever like known it to be in any widespread manner in the church. And
Well, we could have told you that.
Stop. Leave her alone and let her speak.
No, I'm sorry. I appreciate it, Chloe. I do. I really do. I love the fact that you're so scientifically curious, and we spoke about this. Well, I spoke about it to you recently. I said something in the Discord about the idea that like, look, there's actually even scriptural support for the idea that like, hey, if you just pay attention to what's actually in the world, like look at nature itself, that isn't that supposed to be evidence of God's creation, is what's in nature? So then if you're ignoring what we discover in nature, are you not ignoring what God has presented? Like, oh, I'm going to go with this old book, but like, look, we know that evolution happens. We know that there was no global flood. So rather than ignoring what we learned from nature, the truth, what nature has revealed to us. If you believe that there's a God that created all of nature, well, then why not pay attention to what nature tells us instead of what's in some dusty old book?
Well,
But
I can't.
anyway, I'm sorry.
You may have been like, I don't know
way.
if that was rhetorical or whatnot, and I'm not going to try and answer that directly.
It is.
Okay. So, something real quick that I want to stick in there. I said this to you like privately once in a Fern in a conversation. I want to say it also here, like with husband and wife, and also just like here. I think it's just really awesome and important to not forget that there's, and this I'm just gonna like paraphrase from memory, but I know that, and I think it's the Gospel of John, where again, as Jesus is about to go in like, Gethsemane, torture, crucifixion, and such, he's telling his disciples, I have much more to say to you, more than you can now bear. Like, okay, so there's more than what I've said. There's going to be more information later, more beyond, and you can't handle it right now. But then he talks about how he's going to send the Holy Spirit and he's going to help you and then lead you into all truth. And so that is a verse right there from the Son of God saying that, like, you know what, there's going to be stuff beyond. And so this is an example of where I think that to be biblically loyal and really look at all things, that the Bible itself is telling us that we have lessons to learn beyond, not in a way that discards or steps on the Bible, but the Bible is truly about just infinite growth, and that Jesus right there is trying to get his disciples ready for that. And since Fern, okay, so wife, you called Fern, you said Fern was being shitty to me by talking about like, by talking about like, shitty stuff like Ellen White, and so when it comes to like the whole thing about learning, I love this little quote here that I'm going to read.
Oh fuck! There's more.
Hey! It's not the Bible, okay? So it's going to be like husband and wife's first little taste of like an Ellen White quote, and I think husband and wife. I think
this is not what the channel's for.
For husband and wife, I think that you guys will really like this, because this is like a I don't know if this was still in the 1800s or early 1900s, but like we call this deconstruct now, and she used the word agitate. And I just think that this, I just wish that this was happening more, that rather than like a lot more just like, well, do what the culture says and then let's like follow these group goals things. This right here, agitate. The subjects which we present to the world must be to us a living reality. It is important that in defending the doctrines which we consider fundamental articles of faith, we should never allow ourselves to employ arguments that are not wholly sound. These may avail to silence an opposer, but they do not honor the truth. We should present sound arguments that will not only silence our opponents, but will bear the closest and most searching scrutiny. I mean, like
the scientific method. I'm so in love with that.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not going to read any more Ellen White quotes, but that right there,
Thank you.
But seriously though, like, I mean, like, it was like, oh, be a good girl. No, I'm going to agitate, because like that's the whole thing. It's like, oh, be a good girl, be a good boy. No, agitate, like.
I will admit, I'm a little jaded because I've been listening to her use the word agitate for like a year now. So I apologize. I am jaded.
One might say I'm agitated with Fern.
You feel free to be.
Well,
I'm just gonna fuck off now.
But you know what, Fern? In a previous, in one of the last videos, so like I read this for the first time in a previous video, and at the end I was like, that is a fucking good quote, and then then you just like detracted into like, oh, me and potty mouth, whatever, but like, so like you're annoyed about this quote, hearing it, but like I know that you just enjoy all the other talking, and so, but I mean it's just such a really good quote. It
is, Fern. You have to admit it. Yeah. It is.
What? I wasn't listening. What?
Because it's basically, I mean, and I know friends probably like semi-joking, but I'm being straight here. But it's like, don't just try to shut people up. Care about what is true and study it the fuck through thoroughly, so that you really
hey, you're virgin on telling me what to do. I resist.
Oh no,
no. First, I'm not talking to you. I'm addressing the hypothetical they. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not talking to you.
General you, not personal.
Yeah. Oh, honey. Sorry. No.
Sorry. I get confused because I use, I'm one of those crazy woke mind virus people that uses they, them pronouns.
And so it's like, it's like the scientific method, where it's just about like, don't just try to shut people up. What you're saying, I mean, it should honor the truth, and it should be, I love that. It should bear the closest and most searching scrutiny.
Right.
I
Well,
personally
yeah.
feel like that's what I mean, yes, that's why I said scientific method. So yes, that. And also I feel like anybody's faith should be able to stand up to that. Otherwise,
Mm,
how fucking firm is your faith? You
mm.
know?
Right. Yeah. If
Like
you're
if
afraid of scientific inquiry about what you believe, then
any
what do you
inquiry, scientific or
right?
otherwise.
Fair enough.
Like
Yes.
like when people are like, Harry Potter, I can't read that because I might be tempted by witchcraft. And I'm like, let's leave J.K. Rowling's anti-trans. That was a bad example, but
Oh dear.
so let's leave that out for just a second. But when I worked at a bookstore and people would tell me I can't read that because it's a slippery slope and it might lead me down the
Mm,
path to witchcraft, blah, blah. And all I could think was, how fucking firm is your faith that it's that
mm.
easy to shake off? Like, you're an idiot, kind of is where my mind's going, which I know is very judgy, but
No,
I'm just
no,
being
no, no,
honest.
no.
That's how
They're
I
not.
felt.
No, wife. They're a weak idiot.
Okay, fair,
Let's be
fair.
fair.
I'm
Well-
sorry I left out one of the appropriate
Fragile.
adjectives.
Fragile is also acceptable. They're a fragile idiot. You could
Well-
do that as well.
Well, and this reminds me of where like something happens, and I'm sure that this is multiple denominations. I think just this is all over. I think where like they're and I definitely know it quite a bit in mine. It's like there's this fear of being deceived, and it's like, okay, but you know what? The greatest way to keep yourself from being deceived is to get really fucking acquainted with the truth, because then there's nothing that can just pull the wool over your eyes about it. But you can't live life and avoid being deceived by just like trying in a futile way to shut out all kinds of sources when, I mean, good grief, like especially like Adventists, we have prophetic beliefs that are very clear that like things are gonna like close in, y'all. So I mean, you just can't live that way. You have to live with a robust knowledge of the truth and a pursuit of the truth and a love of the truth and a willingness to be corrected. Anyway, all right.
I'm so 100% on board with you, Chloe, that I'm trying not to pee my pants, quite honestly.
You know
I have-
what? I joined late and I started on the toilet because I had to pee really bad. So it's okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. That's.
You're welcome.
But did I mention everybody in the audience? The one person in the audience. Did I mention professional is our keyword here?
I mean, you've definitely had to have heard wife mentioning bathroom stuff on our podcast at some point. So
Never.
never.
And husband, you're always talking. It's like, well, I think I gotta poop on the party now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you
Of
know
course,
what?
that's after we're
just
done
you guys.
recording, though.
Yeah, that's not
That's
during the
after we're
podcast.
Yeah.
I know.
I have something to share here.
Oh,
This is one of my favorite.
and the Casparian fucking lover.
I love this video. I don't know if the audio will come through. So if not, then okay, I'm an idiot. Forget it.
I guess
But
we'll find out
if it
shortly.
comes through, let's find out. You hearing it?
I'm not
Nope.
getting it.
Mm-mm.
But it's Anna Casparian, so I already
All right.
love it.
So here's what we're
She's
gonna
so angry, and I'm just here for it.
do. Yeah. I'm gonna remove that. What I'm gonna do, because this is my only backdoor means into it. Don't take any special meaning out of the word backdoor.
How many beers have you had?
Ching. All right,
So
Chloe.
I'll
I
fill
am
in the
pasting
blank
you.
while you're. Huh?
I'm pasting the link of that to Chloe. Chloe,
Okay.
Okay. Well, while
open
you're
that
doing
link
that,
in another window.
I'm just gonna
Okay.
say, I absolutely love Anna Kasparian. She started out. Well, she's always been with TYT, the Young Turks, but she started out as like a not co-host, but like second guest
Yeah.
host or something with John Iadarola on the Damage Report, which is a show from TYT. And then she moved on to become like the main co-host with Jank on TYT, and I fucking love her, and I'm so glad she's moved up.
Yeah, she's her rant. This rant is just one I just love because I felt like it just said so much of what I wanted to do, like what I wanted to say, how much I wanted people to hear. Just like, fucking stop. Just
She's too
just
smart.
stop.
She's too smart. I would hate to be in disagreement with her.
Mm.
Like,
All
I'm
right,
glad
there
she's on
should
my side,
be right. Yeah, it's like
But you
I
know,
feel that I feel that way about like Bart Ehrman too. To be honest, when I hear him
I bring
talking,
him up way too often.
he's fucking amazing.
He is.
All
But I
right,
feel
Chloe,
like
you
people
should
must
see
be sick when
some
you mention him.
yeah, I
Well,
have it
I
pulled up
mean,
on a separate window.
him and Dan McClellan, or I bring them up all the
Mm.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so bring that up in a separate window. There should be a spot on StreamYard where you can click present and then share screen. And then it should be like a tab or a window where you can see the video.
Ooh.
Gross or the other kind of ooh.
Share audio to next week. Follow these
Ew.
steps to share
Ew.
video.
This is
There we go.
fascinating. No, I'm. It should just be for share screen. This is going to be fun to do live.
What?
No, this is great. This is fun. I just wanted to see if there's husband. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Okay.
I mean, you know, it's the
And
first. It's the
share.
first. Your first. Do I know what you're talking
There
about?
it is. Okay, add to
You
stage
mean
now.
for sharing?
Feel free. There we go. We got it. Never mind. Go ahead and click play on that. Only rewind it all the way to the beginning, please.
Mm-hmm.
And
Gotta
then
get
we'll
to
play it.
0. Okay, and boom.
I don't care that you're a Christian. I don't care what the Bible says. Like, I feel like it's a clown show, like sitting here trying to decipher what your little mythical book has to say about these very real political issues, right? I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your goddamn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says. You live your life in the way that you interpret the Bible. Again, I don't care, but you don't get to take the Bible and tell me, well, the Bible says this in this chapter, in this verse. I don't care. I don't care. I don't believe in it. And I have the right, based on our Constitution, to not believe in it.
And I think that's basically the sentiment that we have with regard to how we feel about religion in American politics.
Yeah. Maybe a little less angry on some days.
Oh, not me. I feel like she held back from saying, I don't fucking care. I don't fucking care what it says in your goddamn book.
But that's the difference between the reaction between, us and Chloe versus us and the politics of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
fair.
So, and that we definitely are on the same anger level as her with regard to religion and politics. But on a personal level, people can have redeeming qualities and believe not so crazy versions of Christianity. And from my perspective,
I didn't like you saying redeeming qualities. Like,
comparatively speaking to a Christian nationalist, they have redeeming qualities.
I'm not sure.
I think I get what Wife's saying, because to say redeeming qualities means you feel that they have other not so good qualities that have to be redeemed.
Well, except for the fact that you're a Christian, I guess I like you. No, that's like not my thought process.
It's like, I know
Just
you're
for the
a
record,
Nazi.
that's not what I meant exactly. So
I know you're a Nazi, but you do have nice hair.
Oh my god.
Oh boy.
What about all the good things Hitler did? Those kind of people.
No, stop.
I'm sorry. That's an analogy I've made about religion several times when people are like, but all the good things in the Bible. I'm like, yeah, all the nice things that Hitler did. Like, no.
Oh my god, you do not want to get me started, because I've been saying for the last 5 years, maybe longer, when there was this whole, like, we need to find ways to reach across the aisle and try to find common ground. Like, this was right.
I would,
right at
but
the
they're
beginning.
Kyling, so I can't reach their hand.
That's hilarious. Well, back then, husband was more kind, and he was more like, we have to, try to get along and reach. And I was like, I feel like you're telling me to hug a Nazi, and that it's not going to happen. And like back then, I was being hyperbolic, and so it's just interesting that those those are my exact words. And like now husband has reached where I'm at, and now it's actual fucking Nazis.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. At
feels-
the very beginning of
I-
all this, your Ohio friend was like, there's Nazis down the street in town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like husband's kind of going through a sort of Walter White change. Like as time has gone by and as our politics have progressed, we're all deeper and deeper into the business of slinging this fucking meth. And
Yes.
you know, we have slowly
might
become
call
fucking
it-
Heisenberg and the nicest, sweetest, kindest guy with
I
the
was gonna
silliest little
say,
mustache.
It's very similar to like a deconstruction from like his Boy Scout kind self to like this more
Aw.
politically active, knowledgeable self.
No, well, no, you know what? That's
I'm not using all the right words, but it does feel
I'm
like
sorry
a
we broke you.
deconstruction.
no. I campaigned for the Green Party when I was 19.
Yeah.
So I've always been and I've been reading political whatevers.
No, I know, and that's
for
why
as
I
long as
said
can
I
remember.
said that wrong.
No, it was so okay.
It's,
All right.
you used to be
It's good.
a
It's good.
lot softer and kinder, and now you're more angry and fired up.
I have
Oh
a
my God.
platform that frees me up to be fired up and frees me up to like I am still
Mm.
on a one-to-one
That's true.
relationship. Like if I'm relating to a single person,
Mhm.
if I'm talking to my coworkers, if I'm talking to whoever,
Right, but
I'm relating to that person directly, and I am kind. And
you are. But the difference is that you no longer are trying to urge me to reach across and make friends and find common ground, and people are just people and blah blah blah. Like you are no longer doing that. You are a little bit more cognizant of the fact that yeah, but that bitch next door has a fucking Trump statue in her backyard.
right.
You know, so you're not
That's
telling
scary.
me let's find a way to be friends with her. There's not that thought never even entered your head.
Right.
We have to be friendly to her and with her because she is our neighbor.
Right.
And,
Like we shouldn't
know-
stop being decent. We shouldn't stop being respectful, but at the same
Yeah.
time, like, yeah, I'm not gonna let her bake cookies for my kids. I don't know. Forget I
Sure.
said that.
Well, okay, let me just like give you an example. Like there was a guy walking around like staring down our houses, and we caught him on our Ring camera thingy. And the way he was walking, we thought that the neighbor might actually have caught a better view of the guy. And also she does have a 15-year-old daughter. And so we were like, okay,
Oh,
you know, we need to make sure that this guy staring down our houses, A, is not after her child or our child or whatever, and B, you know, it just makes sense. Like we're neighbors, let's make sure. And so we
Yeah.
talked to her, and then she was like, you know, yeah, I saw him on my camera too, and thanks for letting me know. And yeah, we'll keep an eye out together, and we exchanged phone numbers. You know, to
okay.
make sure
See,
that
and
we can
that's
keep each
that's
other-
good. That's
Right?
healthy
So that's-
neighboring.
Yes, and that's what I mean, like being friendly versus being friends. So
Yeah.
he's not
Yeah.
telling me
I can
like,
hate everything else about you, but I will look out for your kids. I absolutely, I'm not
Absolutely,
going to want
yeah.
your house to get broken into just because you voted for Trump.
Well,
Well,
moreover, I
No,
don't
I'm
want
kidding.
I don't
I'm
you
just
know,
kidding.
I don't want her to get beat up just because she's been misled.
Right.
Due to partly
Yeah.
to her own ignorance, but I know that she's actually kind of a nice person. I hate to admit it.
Right. And
Because I
it's funny,
didn't-
like we've seen, like I've watched a lot of Steve Hofstetter videos, like him tearing into the crowd when they start, being obnoxious or whatever. But like he did this one that I believe I posted into the stuff, into the Sacrilegious Discord, as I like to call it.
I like that.
I mean, it just fits so perfectly, right?
It does actually.
There was this thing where he engaged with somebody who was like, "Why don't you talk to more conservative people? How come you don't have more conversation with that?" He's like, "I do actually." And he kind of schools this lady on like the distinction between like a liberal and a progressive, on what conservative means, and talks to her about like I've got a gay daughter, and I've got she's like does all this virtue signaling about how she's
I have a
she's
black
not
friend.
Oh yeah.
right. But he's like, well, okay, so it sounds like this is important to you, and if it's important to you, then I think you need to educate yourself on this. And
Oh, it was the
he does-
Canadian guy. Yeah, I did see that.
yeah, Steve Hofstetter, yeah, he's hilarious. But like this conversation with her, I feel like that's actually really emblematic.
I think emblematic.
Yeah.
I don't
get it,
remember.
I get
Yeah, it demonstrates a very clear archetype that is really common now, where you've got these people who have bought into like that conservative extremist, the right wing extremist shit, where it's not conservative really, it's right wing stuff, but it's not conservative.
No.
Where they are like, oh yeah, Trump's gonna fix this bullshit. You people and your crazy gender pronouns, da da da. Like they bought into all that shit. But when you get down to it, like they're decent human people. They're just buying the rhetoric.
They
Like
don't
they're like,
know better, and they're just on the same channel, and they refuse to change
Right.
the channel.
And when you try and say like, well, hey, but what about this humane, decent thing to think? And they're like, well, yeah, I do think that. And you're like, okay, well, what about this other thing? Like, if we had a policy that did X, Y, Z, that would actually benefit everybody. And wouldn't that be like the kinder, decent thing to do? And they'd be like, well, yeah, that would be. It's like, okay, do you understand that Trump's against that and that Kamala was actually for it? No, they don't.
You go too far. You go too far. And then they think
don't.
you're
As soon as
lying.
you attach the names or you start giving sides, they're like, no, wrong. And you're like, I'm trying to show you where you're fucked up here.
Like there's certain words that you just have to avoid in conversations because they've become like literal dog whistles, literal.
Yeah.
Because like you can't say Trump is a fascist because that word has lost all meaning. They
don't know what
hear
fascist
that.
means. They just know it's a bad thing, and
That's true.
it's a
and
it's a
I've been saying
robotic,
that forever
robotic
with regard.
response.
I've been saying that forever with regard to the word socialism. Like you
Mhm.
can't talk about socialism because they only
Right.
have one definition of it, and that's where
They
their
don't
mind
know
goes
what it
immediately.
means.
And
Yeah,
there's
they don't know
nothing
what it
else.
actually means.
There's no room
They-
for any other word. So you have to like find a way to have these conversations by having like your fucking thesaurus open so you can find a different term or
Right.
phrase
You have to have like
to like
you have to
go
fucking
around
sneak
it.
attack them with like the definitional version of the word so they don't realize that's the word you're using.
And yeah, exactly. And you have to like care enough about this one individual to have time to have this conversation over and over and over again as you approach the truth.
Right. It's the
And
bullshit
who's got the
asymmetry
fucking
principle.
patience for that? Yeah.
Exactly. It's the bullshit asymmetry problem, the Brandolini's law. Like
Yes.
the amount of information and effort and resources it requires to refute bullshit is exponentially larger than the amount of effort it requires
Yeah.
to create the bullshit in the first place. It's
It's so
100
fucking
times more.
true.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
So-
why when people ask me, how can you have this relationship with your parents? I'm like, you don't understand. They're the only Republicans in my life. They're the only MAGA people in my life. They're the only so-called conservatives, the MAGA. They're the only ones. And
They
I'm
are my
making
exception.
exceptions. Yeah.
Yes,
And
they are
you know,
my
I feel like-
exception.
I feel like we all have that like one exception, and maybe we don't all
Yeah.
have that one exception, but those are mine, and I'm only putting in the effort because they are good to my child, and it's good for my child. And also, to be quite honest, my son's not talking to me, and I know what it feels like to be a parent who's cut off, and I won't do that to my mom. So
Oh, I'm so
you know?
sorry. That's rough.
that's
That's a whole other story.
yeah.
My
I didn't mean to get into that.
Well-
I just meant like I have empathy for my mom as a parent.
Yeah, I get that. Well, my one person is Chloe. So.
Chloe's not a fucking Nazi.
I know.
Not that
which
my
shows
parents
you-
are Nazis.
Which
But my
shows
parents
you
are
just
closer
how
to Nazis.
Chloe's
Right,
Chloe's
this-
intro. No, not a Nazi.
This is how Chloe, not a Nazi. That's like when people say, "I'm not
Kidding.
going to lie to you," and you're like, "Really? Why would you have to tell me that?"
Right?
Or
Yeah.
to be honest, like why is
Yeah.
we're going to be?
Like
but-
I thought you were honest, but now that you've said that, I kind of doubt it.
Starting to question things.
Well, I mean,
Question and
technically,
everything.
Fern. I mean,
What?
like, I get what you mean, but
I'm
you
probably
had
that for you. I know.
what? No,
I'm
what I was
your
no. What I
one
was gonna
exception, I
say is that
know.
it's not just me now. Like, I know that like our friendship is unique, but you've made friends with my sister. You're friends with my mom. I know it's different for the both
I'm not
of them.
friends with.
But
Well, I guess I am friends with Heather. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not
yeah.
friends with your sister. I'm like, oh yeah, Heather's your sister. I don't even
Yeah,
think of her
yeah,
as your
like, I
sister.
know
I
there's,
just
like,
think of her
there's-
as her individual self.
yes, there's like
Anyway.
there's my two biological older sisters in California, but I'm also talking
Yeah.
about Heather. So.
Yeah, I don't know them. They're idiots. You're...
Whoa.
Just-
Damn.
Don't worry, they won't listen this far in.
Nobody
How
listens
many
to.
beers have you had?
Look, first of all, 3, but that's none of your business. Fuck, why did I say
Tell me.
it? Damn it! Shut up, you. Just. It was a comedic shut up, not a real. Or I'd mute you if I meant it. No, okay. So look, there is one thing that we've touched on a little bit, and I do want to get to. I'm gonna make this the last thing before I let you guys go, because I know it's been 2 whole fucking hours. I've made you put up with this shit, sort of, because we started late.
I don't feel like we're putting up, just so you know. It's fine.
I was gonna say, it sounds like we're having fun.
Well, I mean, if you guys want to continue, we'll continue. But in case there's like okay, let's wrap up. We have shit to do. Just in case that happens, I want to ask this other thing here. This is tangentially related to things that we've spoken of previously. So we have this problem. I think there's a problem where modern Christians don't really have a way to let their God be very approachable, except through Jesus. By which I mean, like, you guys remember reading through the Psalms, and every now and then you'd go run into like a lament or something, and it would begin with something along the lines of like, "How long are you going to judge us unjustly, oh God?" You know, like they would just be like, "Woe is me, boo-hoo," and they were always like complaining to God about God's own character, which I think that's really interesting, and I think it demonstrates something about the Jewish approach to God that's really fascinating, and is still alive and present in most current Jews that I've ever known. All the Jews I've known are like that. They're very negotiable with God. They talk to God like, "God, why are you such an asshole, dude?" Like they're very okay with that. Yeah.
No, I'm just sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, Christians just aren't like that. They can't let themselves be that way with their God. They don't treat their God like a personal, like, "Oh, dude, you're such a dick sometimes." Like, they don't do that. With the only exception that they allow themselves being that they pretend that Jesus, I'm sorry, that's an incorrect way. They perceive Jesus to be a personal figure, it's a relationship, right? Like they do that with Jesus specifically, but not with the God of the Old Testament, right? Yeah,
and it's not the same.
But
right.
I mean, the Jewish perspective is that they're very much on a speaking term with their God. Like they are very much like
very intellectual. Yeah. Like as they're praying, they're not like the way I imagine a Christian praying, like, "Oh, God is great, God is good, and blessed be, and I'm so grateful for." Like when I imagine a Jewish person praying, it's very much like, "And this was my day, and God, as you know, blah blah blah." Like it's very like droll
formal.
And not formal.
Not formal. It's actually really much more personal.
And I was gonna say, I actually personally imagine it as a very humorous conversation.
Yes,
like they're like, like, "What the fuck did I do?" Like, what do you do? Like a real conversation, right?
I tripped over the thing and broke my leg, and God, you know what that is, and I
what the fuck, bro?
Yeah.
Like, dude, why you gotta be like that, man? Why couldn't you have? I guess I just got.
Whereas I got onto Facebook the other day. I know, mistake in the first place. But anyway,
sorry,
I was on there, and
you and Meta.
Somebody I knew from high school was like, "Thank God," or thank Jesus, because they found $20 in a fucking coat. I'm like,
meanwhile,
I'm like, what the fuck?
Are you familiar with all the children that are starving around the world right now? What about all the?
I'm like, who the?
What about all the lymphoma babies? How about them?
Fountain.
The water
fountain. Right? My parents' cat fountain.
Oh Jesus!
What? I'm sorry. Please explain.
Yeah, no. So we have. Okay. First of all, I'm going to start off with our cat has always destroyed every water fountain we've ever bought her, but she loves water fountains. So, wife's parents had this.
Hold up. In what way does your cat love water fountains? What do you mean?
She loves to find out where the water. Find out where the water's coming from.
And so she takes it apart because she has thumbs.
Yeah, she has thumbs, and so she takes it apart.
Well,
we have a polydactyl. We have a polydactyl cat, so she's got six toes.
That's fucking awesome.
Anyway, and anyways, wife was over at her parents. They had this drinking fountain for their cat, and it had stopped working. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so
reminds me of my uncle.
They went ahead and ordered a new one, right, from Amazon or something. I don't really know. But then after they ordered the fountain, they decided to pray about the fountain.
Yeah.
So they prayed about the fountain.
Specifically, my mom said, "You know what we haven't done, honey?" And my dad said, yeah, pray. I guess that's what we need to do. And my mom was like, well, I know it sounds silly, but yeah. And so then they prayed.
So then
Sorry,
they
go
prayed,
ahead.
and then it started working again.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right?
Here's the thing.
So they didn't really read all the directions, I think, before they got it, and they filled it too high, and then
They
some
filled it-
water fucking evaporated, and then
No,
it
no,
started
no, no.
working again.
No, here's what happened. Honestly, the last time that they had cleaned it out and put it together, my dad had put it together slightly wrong so that some of the water got into the inner
Right.
workings.
Yeah.
And yeah, literally, like they told me this, right? As they're like, I wonder why it doesn't work. And like, why did it stop? And then my dad is like, you know, last time I put it together, this happened. And then it was working fine. And I was like, but maybe some water got into the inner workings. And they're like, but it was working. And I was like, maybe the water hadn't already worked its way through. And then, you know, now it's just like,
You know how
maybe you
water
just
is.
need to-
Yeah.
well, I'm just like, maybe you just need to unplug it, dry it out, let it sit for a couple of days to dry out and figure itself out. And then, you know, basically the equivalent of turn it off and turn it back on again. Only a
Have you
couple
tried
days.
turning it off and back on again? Yeah.
Right, exactly. But because it's water, give it a couple days, right?
Yeah.
And
Have you guys watched
so-
the IT crowd? I just want to make sure. Never mind.
So-
All right, go on.
No, I have not watched that show, but yeah.
Oh,
Anyway.
fuck, you're gonna love it.
I know, it's on my list. So they gave it to us because you know they'd already ordered this new one, but my dad at first because I was like, hey, I'll buy the old one off of you because I knew it was just the water issue. I knew, right? Like I'm not stupid. I just know that's the problem with it. I'm not even mechanically inclined, and I know
We know
this
wife
the
is
problem
smart.
with it. I
We
wouldn't
know
call
wife
myself
is smart.
so much as I would call myself not dumb. So I'm like,
And
I'll
she's
buy this
humble,
off of
too.
you. And my dad's like, no, absolutely not. Like, if I'm gonna do anything, I'm gonna give it to you. But I'm scared that, you know, because it's going beep, I'm scared it'll like blow up your house or something. And I'm like,
Yeah, we wouldn't.
Dad, it's just an alarm. Like it's just telling you, hey, something's wrong, I'm not working. Kind of like, you know, one of those monk chant things. Like,
right.
beep, I am broken. Please unplug me and dry my shit out. You know, so
I love you, wife. I just love you so much.
So when it started working, I was like, oh, well, you should, you know, cancel since you prayed and it began to work now magically.
Because
you
that's
know,
how it
later
works.
on. Right.
That's what
Yeah.
prayer
You should-
does.
Yeah.
You should cancel your order. And they were like, no, we'll just go ahead and give this to you. And I was like, are you sure? Because I don't want it to blow up my house. And my dad's like, no, go ahead and take it. So I bring it home, I dry it out, I plug it in. Swear to God, so to speak. It's been fine. It hasn't had any problems, you know, because it dried
Not
out.
a
Probably 'cause it was
single
preyed upon.
problem.
So we have
Yeah,
a
oh.
divinely inspired water fountain in our house.
That
Holy
must
water.
be it.
We've got a holy water cat fountain.
That's got to be it.
But like they honestly believe that that's why it started working
They
because
do.
they prayed. And
they
like I did not try to disabuse them of that notion because there's nothing that I could have said.
Plus, we got a free cat fountain out of it.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
I think I'd like to add something, if I may.
I would love to hear it.
Okay. So I don't have an opinion or a guess about like what caused it to work again. But there's something I want to add from my from how I've like sussed out like you know like listening to this for like a while now and the critiques on prayer and things. I understand because how insipid and how I don't know like there's like a fairy tale-ishness or like a very petty level control mechanism vibe that some people give off about how they believe prayer to be. And there's because of a verse somewhere that says you know like basically like all good things like are ultimately from God, you know, even if not directly or something, but just like, you know, the goodness still exists. Goodness came in the first place and it still exists because of him. It hasn't been stamped out yet, but all the horrible. I there's something that I have grown attached to and it's shaped me where, you know, and I think science and like studies can back this up that like I'm a really grateful person and it feels good to be grateful. And like, and for whatever reason, like, you know how sometimes some of us will just like say sorry, like a lot, even when we don't have anything to be sorry for, but we'll just have this feeling. And it's like,
I
I'm
don't
sorry,
know
I'm sorry, I'm sorry,
what are you talking about?
say it a
What do
lot.
you mean?
And
It's
the thing
like
is,
giving empathy. I sympathize with what you are going through.
oh, and not just that, but also like just feeling bad, feeling responsible, just feeling, shame and guilt for sometimes often irrational reasons.
Right, for the murders.
And so,
Oh my God, stop.
love you, Fern. I really do. And I'm not saying that out loud to try and remind myself. I just, all these different, it's like, okay.
Sometimes
so, like,
we all need to remind ourselves that we love Fern.
I
want to say that I inspire a lot of patience in my friends.
Oh my gosh.
So, I know that if I were in that scenario, and I've been in like similar scenarios, that like when a good thing happens, even if it's on a small level, and sometimes if it's especially on a small level, like from my standpoint, it's like, oh my goodness, like there's like there's starving kids in other countries, and there's really big stuff going on, big stuff in the country. I have bigger problems in my life than this little thing right now, and then like even when like a little thing like goes right for me, I know I'm just like, I'm just, this little thing was little, but it was annoying the fuck out of me, and I'm just so thankful, that it's resolved now and that this is out of the way now. And then I have, and these conversations helped me to start fleshing out my beliefs in more detail, and my friendship with Fern, and then gradually more friendships with all of you, and the amazing questions that you guys ask. It's helping me to start to put new words and feel out in new angles like what I believe. So like I like it. I believe that like even if God doesn't like directly cause something, or he didn't directly give a good thing, but he's so big. I mean, I really, he's a person and he's intimate, but then he's also just so big that, can I quantify it all? Can I pinpoint it all? No, but that's kind of like the joy of leaning into a bigger God who's both epic and intimate. Again, I'm stealing from John Eldridge. He uses those two words together, and I think they're a really good pair of like, he's spirit as well as like, father and son. And so like, I believe that through his spirit, he is everywhere, can be everywhere. And so like in those little moments, even though it's like something so incredibly little and annoying, I'm not alone, and it's not meaningless, and I'm not unseen. And, sometimes people come into your life who care about you and value you, and they can make you feel such big love by their willingness to like care and think about little things that nobody else does. And even if like all they're doing is just having like an empathic presence to you while you're fussing over or being bothered by some little tiny thing, it makes you feel loved, and also just the companionship of just like not being alone. And so, like sometimes like I'll thank God, just reflexively, like when good things happen, not because I feel like I've got a perfect picture of like how it all worked out, but he's the ultimate good. I believe him to be the ultimate goodness and also intimately present. And so I think he's always the ultimate person to thank, even if there was like a direct human agent or some other, direct technological reason here. And it feels good to do that. And then, yeah, that's what one way for me to come back later and really relieved. I'm like breaking off here.
The part that I take issue with, I guess, is the. Sorry.
At least this part's fast. I learned. I'll never forget this phrase from a teacher of mine called the dignity of causality. That God gives us the dignity of causality. That if we choose and if we want, that even though he does have the power to like accomplish things just through angels or by himself, through like just like sheer power, that for the sake of love, relationship, growing and learning, and us not just learning things about him, but us learning about capacities we could have in partnership with him, and us just learning all kinds of things about life, that like we can, if we so choose, participate in prayer, and then just like be open to like a whole new realm of a type of experience, and just start to go on this additional messy journey that goes with all the other messy journeys. But it's like an internal stance that kind of opens things up. And so like that's another reason why there's we can opt to pray about all sorts of things. And then of course, yes, asking for things is a big part of prayer, but then also for me, and I think this kind of prayer is why the Bible says unseemly and it is visible. It's a mentality of just never doing life alone and always communicating with him through just anything and whatever. So
I
still
guess
words, but shorter than the other. So go, husband.
okay, sorry. So I'm gonna say a couple things here. First is that the part that I take issue with is that when someone, attributes prayer to something like finding keys versus the starving children in wherever, Ethiopia or whatever, right?
Sure.
That part bothers me, right?
Or they're asking for your football team to win.
Yeah, or they're asking.
Oh,
that part bothers me because of the implied, the implied caring about this person's keys versus this child dying, right? That part bothers me. Now, that being said, my personal philosophy on things like prayer manifesting in real life are that if you take that moment, so prayer is what? Prayer is this moment where you take a step back from yourself, and in your shoes, you're giving up your thoughts to God, which is very similar to like a Zen moment or just meditation or whatever, right?
What do you mean by giving? What do you mean by giving up your thoughts to God? Do you mean like exchanging thoughts, or do you mean some kind of a surrendering, giving up? Like, what do you mean?
I think that's personal. I don't know. I've never talked to God. I've never had that experience, so I don't really know what that experience is. But I mean,
do you mean
in my
communication?
mind,
when you say by giving up thoughts, are you just trying to describe just like communicating?
I suppose yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, continue.
But regardless of what I see prayer as is a focusing of energy of some type from the person on the problem that's in front of them, right? Is that fair to say?
Energy or attention?
Energy or attention, right?
I don't think you mean energy. I think you mean attention.
But there are other ways to achieve that, is what I'm getting at.
Energy, right? In like the new age sense, man. Like energy,
Well, but there's something to that, right? If you meditate, right? No, not the new age. And I'm saying, but if you are meditating, if you take a moment to yourself to reflect deeply on what you're missing, the keys specifically,
right? Okay.
Right? It's giving you a
beer
moment
number 4
of mental clarity to where you can walk through your day, walk through your steps, and be like, "Oh, I did go over here. Maybe I did that." Right.
So you're talking about like entering your mind palace, like Sherlock does.
A little bit, but like if you truly like, and I don't know what the mental breakdown is of what happens during prayer, but what
husband is smart.
He makes things go.
But look.
Okay,
I'm listening to
if you're giving up that moment to focus on that thing that you want, you're allowing yourself some clarity about that thing that you're praying on or you're focusing on, right? And the same things, in my opinion, can happen with prayer, without prayer, whatever. And there's been lots of studies, actually, well, not lots. There's been some studies with regard to prayer, and it makes no difference in the results of somebody that's in the hospital or whatever. Like it's equivalent either way. So prayer doesn't have any tangible benefits from what has been studied. It's
except for the individual.
Well, it might have fewer benefits actually.
Right. Yeah. Like, no, I've heard that.
It's good for the person praying, but if you're doing intercessory prayer. Intercessory prayer for a person that's like oh, I'm dying of liver cancer or something, and you pray for the group of people is praying for them. It turns out their outcomes are actually worse than mere chance.
If somebody's praying over my ass, I'm thinking I'm gonna die. I'm just saying, like it must be really fucking bad.
I hadn't even thought about that. Oh my goodness.
I also think that some of this is from like people thinking that people having a limited concept of the things that you can pray for. Because well, let me finish. I want to just give a tiny example.
Okay.
Like for me, when I know that somebody's sick or injured, I mean, like, I don't know. There's all kinds of things that I don't know, and so there's a way that, like, I mean, yes, like I know that in really desperate human moments, I really just like I want the person to be healed. I don't want the person to die, but also like. I will also like shift to like, God, like of course I know what I want, and I know that like you didn't ever want like pain or death for us, and I know what I want for this person and what their family wants. and then also something that is like that can be even more unassailable, is that like God just kept our hearts in the midst of all of this difficulty and crisis. And I don't know how, but just asking that you would just bring all of our hearts closer to you and to each other through this, not because it's some good thing itself, but just redeem and be creative with this awful, stressful thing that we're going through, and just help us to be closer and better afterwards. Like that, I think is not only, that's like a safe prayer, and that's also a beautiful and a good prayer. It's
Oh, Is
I
it?
feel like
Or is
I
it an
feel like
easy out?
well, no, I was gonna say I feel like it's self-soothing, but in a very
Yeah.
selfless way. Like in a
and you know
very
what,
Sure.
and the self-soothing aspect actually, and when you talk about how like studies have shown that like the different mental states when in prayer, that it's good for mental health, but like the whole thing
Mhm.
about like
Well,
the whole thing
prayer
about like
or
outcomes.
prayer or meditation or any other sort of
Right, like you were
reflective
talking about
practice.
like if there's any place where like the needle moves, according to research, it's about like the state of the person praying, like far more so than about like anything happening per se.
Mhm.
And that like study of showing that like if people know they're being prayed for, it goes even worse. Yeah, because there's like a lot of anxiety. And I've also been in scenarios and journeys where my prayer life has grown through also some just really hard stuff of like, learning like where you're going to get your heart broken and where you should be careful how you fixate on, because of the things that we don't know, the things that we can't control. I don't know, like, and then some types of prayers you're taking risks, and the self-soothing thing, by the way, like, and I
I
talked
didn't
about,
mean that insultingly.
Well,
I hope
I
you
no 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 I didn't,
understand.
no, I don't think it's
I did.
bad.
I did.
um
I meant it insultingly.
but
I
why, like,
believe you.
but like here's the thing, and I think that this I think that this touches back on the fact, it brings for me, it brings a light back to like God's compassion for our state and for like what we experience, is that like it's not wrong to want comfort, and it's not wrong to need it, it's not wrong to pursue it, and because by belief
I feel that way about sex.
Not the
and
same. Not the same.
It's basically the same thing.
and
No.
it's really not. So hold on a minute. Fern, why'd you do that?
I don't,
Yeah.
because I was getting bored. I'm sorry.
You're a stinker. But like the okay, I remember now. Okay. The way that I believe about sin is really is the way that I try to teach and express it is again very different, and it's very anti-shame, compared to how a lot of Christendom teaches about it. And I still believe that it's still fully accurate, but it just doesn't have all of this shaming and crippling effect, and I think that there's a lot in like medicine and biology that provides really helpful, consistent, synthesizable metaphors for just having an understanding that's compassionate and that's not shaming and crippling. So like, what I'm building up to is that I believe that the
Hmm.
truest thing about me is that I need Jesus. Like it's truer than my sin, and it also predates when sin affected humanity. And also it's
You
going to
went in
still
and out
be,
just then.
huh? My sound? Did my sound go in and out?
Nothing. Sorry. Go on.
A little.
Okay. So like that the truest
We're
thing
good now.
about me, that the truest thing about me is that I need Jesus. The truest thing about me is not that I'm just like filthy rags and worthless crap, or that I'm perfect and I have nothing more to do or to learn and I have some innate, goodness. But the truest thing about me is that I need Jesus, and our need for him, like it predates, I believe that our human need and my human need for God predates when sin entered the human race, and it also will be there even after sin is gone, because of my belief that we were created to live in union with him. And so when we are distant and separate, then there's a lot more dissonance and difficulty. And so like that self-soothing of like praying to like bring back more closeness and to reduce that distance, I think that that is actually what is like the ultimate goal, rather than just like, oh, like skip out on hell so we can get to the good place. I think that there's just a lot of complex relational dynamics going on. The ultimate goal is like let's come back together. Let's find out and reconnect with who all of us really are. And then let's go home and be safe and be well and happy for the rest of eternity.
I have a hard time with some of that. I feel like if that is going to be the case, there ought to be a better way. It ought to be a little bit simpler than find the right part of the Bible and talk to just the right religious leaders and stumble across just the right message, and then, whew, thank goodness, okay, now I get it. That makes it very hard for me, not having grown up with religion. Like,
well, moreover, it's just like everybody has their own personal version of what is the correct Jesus and the correct Christianity, right? So your idea of what is correct is not what somebody else's idea is means to be correct, right? So that's where you get into the like where I'm okay with a personal relationship with Jesus, but I'm not okay with like that crossing boundaries between that, because it's one thing for you to say that this is what you think it is, but it's another thing for you to say, and this is where it enters into where we're fighting against it, is
because
that
my parents would have a completely different understanding of what Jesus means, and they would believe it as emphatically as you believe your
and something
way.
else I think that we see from the outside looking into Christianity is that we are much more affected. Look, I don't get to be part of the crowd that is the cool Christian crowd. I'm an atheist who does not believe in Christianity, right? So everything that is Christian affects me in the like. There's even the nicest Christians, usually feel some bit of sorrow for me for not being Christian, for not understanding a relationship with Jesus, and I don't want that.
Like my parents have specifically told us that they cry because they know we're gonna burn in hell.
Oh my word!
You know,
and I know you don't feel that way, Chloe. But you know,
but you don't
No,
represent.
I mean,
you're not a monolith. You know.
But we are, though. Like if Chloe's right, then by her own theology, we all will. All three of us will absolutely be condemned to hell.
You're not familiar enough with my theology.
Oh, okay. Well, then in another Talk to Your Plants Resurrection, we will do that. We'll
need like a theme song for the resurrection of Talk to Your Plants.
I kind of sort of want to find one.
I'll have wife work something up for you.
And hey, and you know what, husband, wife, and Fern, actually, like, I just want you to know, I don't feel sadness that you aren't that your experience isn't like mine in a lot of ways, that because you're atheist and I'm Christian, and also and that's I'm always trying to choose my words right for different goals, but like and I have to do the same thing with Christians, same thing with Adventists, but it's like I first of all, I just feel glad and grateful to know you. I feel joy over all of the loving, kind, caring, and safe parts of like who you are and how you're always working to like be good to each other, grow, and make the world a better place. And
also the things I do.
I said all three of you all.
I think Fern was being self-deprecating and trying to put forth the idea that they do not indeed make the world a better place.
100% do not.
So and
anyway.
and I think that that whole thing about like let's see here, the like, oh, just this, and also I think it's either short-sighted or manipulative, sometimes maybe both, to like, oh, I'm just sad for you because of this. Like here, like, I mean, it's like, I'm sad for you. Like it's like a pitying and belittling and an attempt at some kind of a guilting, or it's just like sincerely, sadly, like the people who talk to you that way about them feeling sad because they think you're going to burn, those people, I feel sadness about them. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but like
I don't think they're that sad, honestly.
Huh?
Sometimes I don't think they're that sad, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they just say they're sad. It's performative. It's very performative.
Sometimes I do think that there are certain people who do enjoy the idea that in their mind you are going to burn.
Absolutely.
Whereas
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
believe it with Chloe.
I believe I take catharsis in the notion that in the end, everyone who has refused to repent, everyone who has refused to leave behind the ways that they know they are harmful, and to refuse to embrace the work of becoming a better person and doing better, that those people who are just going to just continue abusing, and they just would never acknowledge the truth, and they didn't care, and they didn't have any empathy or whatever about the harm that they did, and that finally we will be free of the harm that they do. That brings me catharsis. And also just a little itty bitty tidbit that really especially brought me joy because of experiences about being lied to and lied about, and where people just like justify stuff in their heads and then they just do so much damage to you. A little tidbit that I believe from the Great Controversy is that it's not just that, there's going to be an end of sin and end of people who just refused, and like they knowingly refuse. They're just refusing, to just start to drop the harm and do the work and embrace what God has to like just, to just drop the harm and be transformed. But like also there's going to be a moment in every psyche of like knowing what is actually true, like not being able to lie to themselves and really knowing the truth for absolutely what it is without being able to comfort themselves through self-deception, and just knowing and just reading a nugget like that and knowing that like one day all the people who got themselves off and who haven't felt anything about what they did to me, that at some point in time I can look forward to them really knowing the harm that they did for what it was. That brings me comfort.
My version of hell is I think Fern touched on it earlier, but Twitter.
I believe I did mention that. Yes. That was...
Sorry.
Also,
I had to say it.
It's okay. And this is a short little summary. I believe that God
Are you sure?
looks at all of us as like he judges all of us by like what the best that we did with what we had.
They.
Actually,
And
you know
so-
what? The Bible does specifically say he for God.
Yeah, I know.
Well-
That's wrong.
Yeah, I was
mean,
going to say, but that's a whole different conversation about translations and
Yeah. It is now 2.5 hours after we began. Are you guys like if you're
I
ready
think
to
we
go?
probably should cut it shortly, unless you guys have a few more pointed questions, because I still have to edit a podcast and we still have to record a podcast yet
Oh,
tonight.
shit,
Oh,
I forgot
fuck
about
Oh
me.
my, wow.
I forgot entirely that you had to do that. Yeah,
I
so
didn't-
you guys should go record a podcast because I want to listen to it.
Right.
I hope it's a short chapter. Why?
As do I. Well, no, it's not, because actually I don't know that we
It's-
might not get to the one. I might just have to
It's
edit the one.
that Obadiah guy, right?
No, we're doing
Mm.
our
Oh,
we're doing
yeah,
our
yeah.
wrap up for the book.
No, yeah, we're doing
Are
the
you ready for
wrap
it or
up.
no?
No, I'm not ready for
Oh,
that.
Then
fuck,
I guess all I
wrap-ups.
have left to do
Yeah.
is edit a podcast for tonight. Then so we got our
Okay.
Q&A done for the whatever 6 through 9.
Well, look, thank you,
So.
both of you, for spending your time tonight with Talk to Your Plants Resurrection, and for and just for being awesome people who've brought so much to my life. I'm so grateful, and I'm grateful that you are willing to engage in this discussion and listen to preaching. And I will.
Stop. How do you put up with them, Chloe?
I'm serious. Like this
Well-
poor lady. She's-
Well,
she-
and I don't think it's like preaching a testimony when you are simply talking about what you believe and talking about life experiences that you've
Yeah,
had.
no, I think that is exactly what testimony is. But anyway, the point is that our lovely friends, husband and wife of Sacrilegious Discourse, whom everyone should be subscribed to,
Hmm.
available where all fine podcasts are sold. You can find them everywhere. Patreon is a great place to find them because they're wonderful. And I should actually put a link to your Patreon in the
I have
comments.
to
or
share this
something.
with you guys because you guys know us, and I'm over. We got our first. We had somebody subscribed at $50 a month today.
Fucking awesome! Oh
I'm
my
like,
god,
what
that's
the
so
fuck?
great! Husband, wife, that is awesome. I'm so
It's the
grateful.
first time that's happened. I'm like,
I
holy
wish
shit.
I had that kind of job. That's
No,
amazing.
yeah, I'm not asking for $50 a month. I'm just saying, I was like, wow.
I thought he was
That's
joking.
I didn't
wonderful.
know that we were worth $50 a month.
Does this person wish to remain anonymous, or do you want to wait to display
just
them
reached out to
on
them
your own
today.
show?
I just reached out to them today, so
I think yeah.
we do it.
I
We do
think
a
you should-
thing where we announce names on our podcast. So I'll wait till then to announce, have a gushing
Yeah.
moment on our podcast. But yeah,
Yeah, we don't want to spoil it. Yeah.
right,
This is
right. Yeah.
that's so fucking great. I'm so happy for you guys. You deserve it. I wish I could
really
be
do,
one of
guys.
those. I would love to be able to do 10 times more than I currently do.
Well, you're saving up for that 1 month
Tell
of
me,
You Killed
yeah.
God, right?
The single month of it, that'll
Yeah, the
happen.
single month
and
of
then
You Killed God. Yeah.
and then I figure if you're God for 1 month, that's pretty good. That's
Right,
if
yeah.
you're
Look,
you're
Fern, the amount of help that you give us is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
you guys think that's help? Okay.
I mean, both of you, honestly, we really appreciate both of you.
Yeah.
I just want to say that out loud as an honest
Oh,
statement that you guys
Well.
both bring so much to our Discord and our conversations that we have on our own. We really
Really?
appreciate you both.
Yes.
I
yes.
feel like that it's just, to me, it's just reciprocal for what you bring
Mm.
into my life. So thank you so much.
And
I mean,
really
honestly,
wanna-
most of our time that we spend online is spent on Discord. So
Good.
Aw.
It should be.
yeah, the Chinese really love it.
Yeah. That's all.
Hey.
I didn't tell you guys, but I am a shill for the Chinese Republican. Yeah.
Really? Because my name is Russian. How about that?
Cool.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
We're in a league.
Mm.
Let's
Right.
get it on.
I just like, it's not just I'm not trying to diss the compliments and affirmations. They mean a lot to me. Words really feed me. But I also am just I really also do appreciate, and I like perk up. And when you guys say like when you guys have like a question to pick something apart, or where you say that you have an issue of something or you disagree, and then you share why, because it is such like, at first I thought it was just like just me and Fern, but then I realized no, it's this whole there's a whole spectrum of all kinds of different atheists, and the thought patterns and the questions. I love it because it just, you know, that thing where like somebody's invisible, and if you like throw an object or you throw some paint on them, then suddenly you start to see more of the outline of it. And like I
The
have
Invisible Man thing.
I have a really intimate grasp of what I believe, and but it's in in Christian speak, and it's from a certain angle, and everything that you guys express, it's so, I mean, it's just both because it helps me to understand it more deeply and from other angles, but also because it helps me just connect with more humans and see how more people see things. It makes me feel so alive in my brain, and you don't know what that means to me after how just.
Also with me, she connects with me too. Humans and me.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say I feel the same way.
Humans and the
I
house
don't-
plant.
Yes.
Thank
I
you.
don't have the same background or thought process as you, Chloe, obviously, but I do share with you very much like the confusion as to why people are the way they are, and the wanting to understand better,
Mhm.
and the continued hunger for learning and information and truth. And so I have a hard time with people, and so this community
it's-
provides that.
Because
And I think it's what I've learned is that like my neurodivergence, being around a lot of other neurotypicals, there's this really early innate drive of like we're not understanding each other. So
Yeah.
and they don't care to understand me because they've got more power and they can just do whatever. But I really want to understand, because then maybe I can like
to
do some
explain.
then I can maybe like do some things differently to like change some stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I'm
I feel
totally the
like
same way.
Chloe and wife are really cut of the same cloth in a lot of ways.
We
I
really
agree.
are.
I agree very much.
Yeah,
I think
Okay,
that's why we always got each other's back.
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Whenever I fuck up, you can bet both Chloe and wife are up against it. They're both
And we
sides of them
also-
are
With a fork and
And we
knife.
also both adore you.
exactly,
And are so grateful that you are part
Yeah.
of our community.
which is funny because husband's the nice one.
Husband might be the nice one, but Chloe and I are the empathetic ones.
Yeah, that's
When it
I
comes down
think
to
that
it.
both of you have your different kinds of warmth and love, and then you have your different kinds of hard reactions and hard questions.
yeah.
And basically just
that's a
husband
fair
and
way to
wife.
put it, yeah.
I'm more of a
And husband
metered,
and wife, you guys are a fucking awesome pair.
They really are. They're fantastic.
more of a metered,
We love you guys.
metered approach, and wife is more of a blunt approach. So That's really the biggest difference. So.
And sometimes you need one tool, sometimes you need the other. So between
That's
the
great.
Phillips and the slot, SLOT,
Not flathead.
flathead. That's the way to put it. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the term. Flathead, flat script. Yeah, slot.
Flathead.
Fuck, I am digging a big hole here. So yeah, we're gonna wrap up. Talk to your plants. Resurrection. Thank you again, Sacrilegious Discourse, husband and wife. We're so grateful that you could be with us. Chloe, I appreciate you joining us when you finally did, even despite your microphone fun. Your microphone's too good. Could you get a shittier microphone? Anyway, we will see you guys on Discord. And thank you everybody who bothered to watch this, including apparently Pragmatic Crystal, who is one of my favorite people on
And
YouTube,
Heather.
I just gotta say. And Heather, who showed up, which was so generous of her as well. Because
And I don't
she
know
has
Pragmatic
work.
Crystal, but now I want to. Hi, Pragmatic Crystal, if you're there.
She's amazing. If you ever join some of the live streams on Atheist YouTube, you will probably run into Pragmatic Crystal almost certainly as a moderator.
Cool.
She has a wrench on almost every channel I've seen her on. So
a wrench or a screwdriver?
It's a wrench.
Or
Well, the mods. All right. Let's not. Speaking of which, I gotta date with Pornhub. So, no,
Wow.
I'm kidding. I don't like Pornhub. It's too many ads. So it's been great. It really has been great. Thank you, husband. Thank you, wife. Thank you, Chloe. I'm grateful to have you all with me. I hope you all have a wonderful night, and please enjoy your editing.
I won't. But yeah, thanks. We've enjoyed this as well. So,
all right.
Thanks, guys.
Speaking for wife again. Oh my goodness.
Bye.
Bye. We are ending.